Good morning, good morning. It's my honor to call to order the October MTA Board Meeting. Let's hear the safety announcement and then from public speakers.
Your safety is of the foremost importance to the MTA. Therefore, we ask that you listen and adhere to the following instructions. If you witness an emergency, notify emergency personnel in the room and call 911 immediately. Please follow any audible instructions provided through the public address system or visually on screens in the event of an emergency. If an alarm sounds, wait for a public address announcement and follow instructions. If told to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use stairwell A just across the main hallway or stairwell B down the hallway past the elevators. If you have a mobility disability or cannot self-evacuate, please proceed to stairwell D or E for assistance by MTA staff or emergency personnel. An automated external defibrillator, AED, for use by trained personnel is in the main hallway just past the elevators. If you need assistance during an evacuation, please tell an MTA staff member or emergency personnel. Thank you and have a safe day.
Yeah, good morning and welcome to the MTA's board meeting public comment session. We have 17 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA rules of conduct and decorum. I would also like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker is Deborah Greif, followed by Jason Anthony.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deborah Greif, and I'm glad to see everybody. I want to say congratulations, Demetrius, 1-year anniversary. Yay. Really happy about that. I also want to say that to the Metro North, when you put up the temporary platforms, when it goes to New Haven, please make sure they're really accessible, not just for mobility, but also visual people with hearing. It is very important. Because if we don't have that, I don't want any accidents to happen to anybody, because I'm very happy that you're going to have those stations, especially I have a lot of friends who live right in or near Co-op City, and it'll make it a lot easier. Also, I think it's great you're going to be going to Albany Metro North. Thank you. It'll be easier and much cheaper. But I just want to thank everybody, and I wish everybody a happy holidays and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Omar Vera.
Good morning, Jano, Paige, and the rest of the board members. Jason Anthony, the Transit Guru. A day like today, 13 years ago, we were battered by Superstorm Sandy. We should reflect how advanced it took the system to get back online 13 years ago, and the advances that we did as a system, as a city, and as a state to get where we are today, 13 years later. I want to thank Jan Oliver and his leadership to so many things that I could think of. Jano, we call you the general because you have been very honest. You don't sugarcoat like others in the past have done. And when we have a question or concern or anything, you're always there to answer the question very honestly. Another thing I want to say, I'm very glad that we're going to have the Hudson Line extended to Albany. But I'm very disappointed that because of Amtrak, we're not going to get 3 stations in the Bronx until 3 years later. But I hope that Justin will pressure Amtrak to do their job along with Jano. But that's all I have to say for this month. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Our next speaker is Omar Vera, followed by John Carlo Padula.
Good morning, MTA Board. Since I wasn't here Monday, let me just say happy birthday, New York City Subway, the big 121 and counting. Well, that's for the first IRT Underground line. Then, if you look at the Jamaica line in Brooklyn, it's older than that, since 1888. But yes, first of all, let me just say, extending Metro North to Albany is a great move. Fine, sure, we'll start with one train in each direction a day, but this could open up to potentially future multi-trip routes between Grand Central and the state capitol. It is desperately needed, and as part of a system-wide service enhancement, and it will further connect the state capitol with the largest city, and that's needed. What's also needed though is that we need to move forward with phase 2 of Second Avenue Subway, and I'm glad we finally got the approvals for that. But it needs to happen because, like I said, East Harlem's been waiting for the Second Avenue Subway long enough. Neighborhoods south of the Upper East Side have also been waiting for Second Avenue Subway long enough when we get to the future phases. And I noticed you have a photo of the retro MetroCard and the more common MetroCard Gold that we use that's in the process of both being phased out. Well, the retro was phased out decades ago. But like I said, just try to follow my recommendation that for the Omni cards at least, they should be a 7-day and 30-day unlimited option. With other forms of payment, you can still do the fare cap. That's my biggest suggestion. But with that said, thanks for having me here, and happy Halloween, and see you next month.
Our next speaker is John Padula, followed by Iris Kelly.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Padula. I'm a supervisor at Educational Vision Services from New York City Public Schools, as well as a member of the Advisory Committee for Transit Accessibility. October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and we're supposed to recognize value and talent. And Mr. Lieber, I know we both know there's a lot of value and there's a lot of talent in this room, but at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I have to ask all the value and the talent sitting at that table and sitting around the room, if you were confronted with a disability and you needed to rely on paratransit to do your job, to function the way you do, could you? Does paratransit currently offer the level of autonomy and flexibility to sustain gainful employment in this city? You know, Demetrius made a great point on Monday. He basically said, we're trying to run a 21st century paratransit system based on legislation and funding from last century, from the 20th century. A modern, usable, equitable paratransit system is part of inclusive transit, and this city has to figure it out. And I'm tired of hearing what we can't do. I want to be part of conversations, meaningful, robust conversations. I want to talk about what we can do. We have to keep moving forward. We have to figure out the funding. Our city's got to figure it out. This city, New York City, our city. No matter who the governor is, we have to have those conversations. And I'm sorry, folks, e-hail, on demand, is one of the ways to level the playing field, and we have to have that conversation too. It has to be rolled out to more people, and there has to be a third group with a few more rides based on demonstrated need. Not everybody needs it, but for those that do, it is a game changer. Never mistake disability for an ability, and remember, low expectations lead to low outcomes. My name is John Padula. Thanks, guys.
Our next speaker is Iris Kelly, followed by Alita Dupree.
Yes, I would have to about on demand that everybody should get in this. At least ask each and every one of us if we want to try it. Not everybody's going to want it, but some do. Like I know I had many instances where I've been where I needed to have it and I don't even have it. It's getting really ridiculous. And then in terms of railroad, You need to move the trains back on track 3, especially at night. Shouldn't have to be walking from tracks 1, 2 over to track 11, 12 at night. This is ridiculous. It shouldn't happen. You know, they need to have more convenience. And instead of taking convenience away from people, it's horrible. I mean, try being in my shoes where it's like to try to walk all the way across that long bridge just to get to another train connection. That is disgusting. You need something better than that. Care about your people. Say you do, but you should showing it more. And then for the assistant, right, he's doing a pretty good job, but he just needs to do more still for what's going on with it. And let's see what else. But it's been pretty good so far, for the most part. Basically, that's pretty much what's going on. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Alita Dupree, followed by Filio Valenti.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Jano, Lieber, and members. Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds. You know, I love a good public meeting. I have some Subway here for you, one of my favorite stations. I'm reflecting on the Omni had a software load earlier this month, and there's been some residual effects. I have a close family member who had some struggles with her registered travel card being blocked. I think it's fixed by now, but as we get toward 1 January, let's make sure that we can get past that, because I want everyone to enjoy Omni in its fullest. I'm looking forward to Albany service, and I'll be able to enjoy that service in and out of Grand Central Terminal, just as I did when Amtrak ran that service in and out of Grand Central Terminal. I think it was up until 1991. I think we can do multiple trains with this and make the Albany service our own. I'll use it for sure, and for many good reasons. I think we're very good at doing that. And as I consider railroad fares, what will it take to get to tap to ride on the railroad? Because then we can have fare capping. Don't have to worry about passes. I think that with new technology, the time for passes is coming. I like not having to think about it. And yeah, BART is doing tap to ride on their system. I know I talk about BART sometimes. Well, to me, BART is the people's system, and I enjoy sharing some of that. But where do we go from here? All we have to do is remember our values of building the system that is legendary and stately.
Please
Thank
conclude
you.
your remarks. Thanks. Our next speaker is Filio Valenti, followed by Yolanda Ayene.
Philip Valenti, President of TW, Local 106, Supervisors. Mr. Chairman, I want to bring something to your attention. The Department of Buses has a real problem. You have people you brought in from Dallas who don't know what the hell they're doing. You got somebody from Subways in charge of buses, don't know what the hell he's doing. Buses has a real problem. On top of that, there was a survey. You brought in all these retired managers a few months ago to check what's going out on the road, and they're taking advice from these managers, not really asking the supervisors what's going on. So the plan is to cut 26 supervisors from the road and put them up in the bus command center to supervise from up there. So if anybody doesn't know, the bus command center radio system is failing. 47% of the time, the system is not working properly. It's constantly under repair. The calls are being dropped. The GPS freezes up all the time, and they're going to pull 26 dispatchers off the road to work in a command center that has problems. The dispatchers on the road are the first line of defense, the boots on the ground, the uniform that's out on the street that deals with the public in the bus stops. So this harebrained scheme that's being put into place, we're being told on January, is going to fail. We're fighting it every step we can, but this is a bad decision. You need the supervisors out on the road. If you want to put more supervisors in the bus command center, hire more supervisors for the bus command center. Don't strip everybody from the road where they're needed the most. We're out there. We deal with the public. We deal with the bus stop. We handle problems as they're going on, right? We're the first line of defense for everyone. We deal with all the public at all hours of the day. We're the people who are out there there working for the transit authority, the operators look to, the public looks to for help. And we're all being pulled off the road to go work in the command center to watch dots. Buses go back and forth on the screen on a failing system. Mr. Chairman, I'm asking you to take a look at it. Nobody else wants to seem to look at this thing at a lower level. We met with people. They don't seem to care, and it's going to fail. Okay, it's going to fail, and the public's going to be hurt by that, and the operator's going to be hurt by it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Yolanda Ayane, followed by Evan Yankee. Okay, we're going to move on to our next speaker, Evan Yankee.
Good morning. My name is Evan Yankee, and I'm the Advocacy Director for Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled. In a recent op-ed in an AM New York, the MTA claims an 80% customer satisfaction with accessorized service in survey after survey, but we see a gap between this number and a reality on the ground. We regularly talk to rooms full of accessorized riders who have never taken the survey and have high dissatisfaction with the service. Riders who have barriers to using email and other forms of electronic communication are not having their experience included in your data, and we believe these riders are also treated worst. When we visit programs to talk to riders, they are usually congregate programs, day programs, older adult centers, clinical settings, where many people with disabilities use Access-Ride at the same site. We always ask if people have taken the MTA survey, and the overwhelming majority haven't. The MTA could do what we do, and could probably do it better. The MTA knows what sites have a high volume of Access-Ride users, and could go to these places and talk to people, not collect their email, not show them a PowerPoint, not try to train them to use your app, but actually talk to them, and critically, to find ways to include their experience in your data. The problems riders face at these sites take up time and resources for Access-Ride and many other city and state systems, whether they show up in your customer surveys or not. So why not find out more about them? There are many other methods for knowing more about what is going on in your systems, implementing easy read and plain language communications, doing randomized qualitative studies, or just making your complaint response systems more transparent and responsive to build trust in your systems. We are all looking for a more accessible transit system, but making progress means being curious, honest, and working together to find out where we're really at. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. X, followed by Devin Kupferberg.
Metro Railroad, as I said on Monday, extend the Hudson and New Haven lines to all points above New Haven and Poughkeepsie, and put Scamtrack out of business. We don't need Scamtrack. We don't want it. It's not helping us. It's a burden, a bigger burden over our heads. Long Island Railroad, Jamaica Station, many occasions, I couldn't use the Long Island Railroad men's room because it was inactive. So therefore I had to go upstairs to the fake A train, which is time consuming. I shouldn't have to do that. And also regarding Long Island Railroad, years ago on New Year's Day, I headed for Barclay Center Station. I couldn't use the bathroom there after standing on line before the ball dropped for many hours without a bathroom break. And I was told I had to head for Penn Station. Are you serious? Am I supposed to do what Gene Hackman did in that French Connection? You tell me. Am I supposed to do what Roy Scheider did in the 7-Ups? You need to keep the bathrooms open all night on December 31 and January 1. All night long, like the Mary Jane Girls, also Lionel Richie. And regarding the NIDA, I want buses to run between my borough and Queens without entering Manhattan across the Throgs Neck and Triborough bridges. Having to run across the Whitestone Bridge only is good but inadequate. I mentioned that at Queensboro earlier this year. It's up to the MTA Executive Director, or should I say Joseph Biden Jr., to make it happen. And if he can't make it happen, then he's got to go. It's that simple. He can do what I asked Tom Prendergast to do.
Thank you.
You know what that is.
Our next speaker will be David Kupferberg, followed by Ian Matthews.
Good morning. My name is David Kupferberg, member Passengers United. As I said in the past, bus stop balancing is a mindless implementation of standard practices by the MTA and NYC DOT without the consideration of the effects of their actions. There is no correlation between bus speed and passenger travel time. If a bus route has many stops but only stops at a few of them, the elimination of bus stops has little, if any, effect on bus speed. Hence, there is little benefit to their elimination. Potential passengers, however, must walk further on average to reach a bus stop, increasing passenger travel time. This also significantly increases the chance of a missed connection. For infrequent service, a missed connection could also discourage bus usage. To increase the distance between bus stops negatively impact the elderly and permanently and temporarily infirmed. For example, someone using crutches due to injury. At the committee meetings last month and this month, I talked about the Q27 bus stops on Springfield Boulevard at Amboy Lane in front of the Queens Village Long Island Railroad Station. On June 29, 2025, as part of the Queens Bus Network redesign, they were eliminated. Thanks to community pressure, the bus stops were reinstated. Bus stop balancing must be analyzed on a case-by-case basis in order to increase bus speed without significant negative impacts on passenger travel time. In conclusion, there must be a moratorium on the elimination of bus stops until fair and unbiased borough-wide studies are complete. Bus stop balancing has demonstrated that the MTA and NYC DOT are only concerned about bus speed, not passenger travel time. They are pretending that they will make improvements in speed travel. It is dishonest and wrong. They cannot be trusted.
Our next speaker is Ian Matthews, followed by Todd Napolitano.
Good morning. My name is Ian Matthews. My experience riding the subway 2 weeks ago was absolutely horrible because last Friday on October 17th, you rerouted a B train express from 59 to 145, and it was a Bronx-bound train. The next Bronx-bound train wasn't for 25 minutes. You claimed it was late, but so apparently we just reroute trains express because they're late, and the next one isn't for 25 minutes. That's ridiculous. That needs to be better looked into. Also, why are there so fewer R211s on the B line? There's only like 5 sets now. 3 weeks ago there were like 9, and you promised us there would be more newer trains on this line. The older trains on the line, the R68s and R68As, are riding really rough and are not very smooth. Yet you promised us new trains. There also needs to be more police patrols on the B and D line in the Bronx because there's been a lot of drug dealing happening. In fact, and I almost got punched up 2 weeks ago for no apparent reason. And also for the Long Island Railroad shutdown in November, why isn't there a shuttle bus from Mineola to Farmingdale? How can you expect someone to get from Mineola or Hicksville to the Ronkonkoma Bridge? They would have to take a taxi, Uber, or Lyft. So that should be looked into. And that's all I have to say.
Our next speaker is Todd Napolitano, followed by Gene Ryan.
Good morning, Todd Napolitano, TW 106 Chairman. I represent dispatchers and maintenance supervisors in Queens. Mr. Chairman, I'm here to strongly advocate for maintaining road dispatchers at their current field posts rather than reassigning them to the bus command center. Road dispatchers play a critical role in ensuring the smooth operation of transit service. Their presence on the road allows them to directly assist the riding public, support bus operators in real time, and respond swiftly to service disruptions or emergencies. Removing dispatchers from the field posts is a misguided solution that risks undermining the quality and reliability of our transit service. A dispatcher station on the road is uniquely positioned to observe conditions firsthand, make immediate decisions, and provide timely interventions that help maintain on-time performance. This direct engagement is essential to delivering reliable service to the traveling public. It appears this decision is being driven primarily by the need to fill empty consoles at the bus command center. While I do not oppose strengthening the bus command center, this should be accomplished by hiring additional dispatchers to work with those already on the road, not by eliminating road dispatchers altogether. Reassigning dispatchers to the bus command center removes them from the very environment where their presence is most impactful. While the bus command center serves as an important function, it cannot replicate the effectiveness of a dispatcher physically present on the road. The absence of field dispatchers risks increased delays, reduced response and diminished support for our bus operation and passengers. For the sake of service quality, operation efficiency, and public satisfaction, I urge you to reconsider the approach and prioritize staffing emergency strategies that preserve the essence of the role of the road dispatcher. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jean Ryan, followed by Miriam Fisher.
I'm Jean Ryan, President of Disabled in Action of Metropolitan New York, DIA for short. You might be tired of me talking on the topic of express buses for this whole year. I'm not tired of the topic. I'm tired of not having reliable and spontaneous public transportation to get from Brooklyn and Manhattan and back again. Not because buses are late or anything like that, but because I can't reliably get on and off the buses. The drivers do not know how to move the seats for a parking space or they do not know how to use the lift. I get left at the curb or it takes up to an hour to get on the bus or the FDNY has to take me off. This affects many more riders than just me. Better and more training would be nice, but in my almost 25 years of riding or trying to ride, training has not made a substantial difference, so why would it now? Besides, I often come back to Bay Ridge on the 27, 37, or the 28 or 38, and there are many untrained drivers late in the day and at night who are just filling in for a regular driver. They say they are untrained and don't know what to do. Sometimes I can teach them, or they call someone or ask another bus driver to come over and help. But that takes a long time and does not always work. Please investigate bus designs from around the world or have a big contest for a better bus design, preferably one with a low floor ramp and no lift at all. People with mobility disabilities ride too, and we need a timely and reliable way to get from borough to borough on public transportation. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Miriam Fisher, followed by Christopher Greif.
Good morning. Am I audible? It's Miriam Fisher.
Yes, you
Thank you. Okay. I support the disability activists who rallied this Monday requesting the MTA sign the law for the 8-year-old elevator maintenance case. Over 30 plus outages daily, stranding those without other options that many of us assume and are used to. Not everybody has choices. People get stranded. We're requesting announcements of elevator outages on the platform or the digital displays. Many riders are not comfortable with or adept with apps, as Evan Yankee just communicated on the issue of accessoride. Bus stops. I often take the bus. Improved many of the bus stops. Only 17% have seats and only 20% shelters from extreme weather. No one should stand in 95-degree heat or 20-minute snow waiting for the bus. For pregnant women, seniors, people with disabilities, kids, all of us. Manhattan CB4 Transportation Committee sent a letter request to DOT last January about the bus stops on 23rd Street. And 2 weeks ago, another letter was sent by electeds from the district asking for evaluation of the request that was made way back in January. Please address that. We need better bus stops. We need benches on the subway. Many were removed, especially in districts where there are a lot of homeless. People need to sit. We need better bathrooms. No gaps between
Please conclude your remarks.
No gaps.
Please conclude your remarks.
Yes.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christopher Greif, followed by Lisa Daglian.
Good morning. I'm Christopher D. Greif. And first, I want to thank our law enforcement, especially happy birthday to Chad, one of the securities. You know, coming into the building or going anywhere in our communities, it's amazing to say that we work together with law enforcement, other community boards, advocates, unions, and with people with disabilities, I have seen things have changed. Our transportation has changed. I want to thank the law enforcement from the MTA Police, NYPD, all the securities, because one thing I have seen is them working with disabilities. Yes, we might have to still work together. We might agree and disagree, but things we have to get done in the near future of 2026. The future accessibility rides with us. And I want to say that on our railroads, we are getting things upgrading. I'm here to support the Albany extension because that will be more easy to get on the train there. Second, as my other colleagues have said about the Penn Access, those 3 stations, I'm here to support that 100% because those communities up there with people with disabilities, seniors, and veterans, we need to make sure those stations are not just accessible, but getting on the train and connect to the bus. All the advocates in the Bronx are here to support that, and they want that. And I agree with you about Amtrak. Yes, Amtrak needs to understand accessibility is important, and they got to remember that performing work must work together. Last time I checked, we're in the 21st century, not the 19th century. And I will say this anytime. Amtrak, let's get it done. DOT, let's get it done. Because we need the streets to be fixed. We need to update our bus stops to make sure lighting, signages are safe. And I hope everyone, please enjoy your holidays, and thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lisa Daglian.
Hi, good morning. I'm Lisa Daglian, Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. It was a treat to be at Grand Central yesterday to see the changes being unveiled. As a daily 7-line rider, it was sweet to see the behemoth station more open and rider-friendly. And as Grand Central Partnership head Fred Cerullo said, access to everything is access to everything. And that's what we're getting. The capital plan amendment you'll be voting on today will add to that accessibility by bringing 2 additional stations into ADA compliance for a total of 69. We're looking forward to the day we see Metz Willets Point on that list. Hey, maybe sooner than later, you never know. The amendments also include Sandy resiliency work. It's hard to believe that today marks the 13th anniversary of that fateful day. The ensuing years have shown us that we must not only continue to invest, but change the way we look at where the danger comes from and better harden against the tricky extreme weather threats from above and below. The list of projects in the blue pages is very impressive, but even more impressive is the $600 million in savings that you're achieving. Congratulations on hard work well done. We're looking forward to the launch of the upgraded capital program dashboard that will soon allow us wonks to sort through it better. I'd also like to offer PCAC's congratulations to our own Jack Connors, who was recognized by NIPTA with their Joseph Boardman Award yesterday. He'll be using that new Metro North to Albany service to continue to advocate on behalf of the region's riders, all of whom will benefit from the 2024 amendments and 25 to 29 plan. Now, can we get Amtrak to move the needle on Penn Access and reduce the ghastly 3 years of delay? We're coming up on Halloween, but October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And my personal PSA is to get screened. It could save your life. The alternative is scary.
Please conclude your remarks. Thank you. We are going to call Yolanda Ayene one last time. So our next speaker is Yolanda Ayene. Okay, Chair Jano, that concludes our speaking portion.
Thank you, Ruby, and thank you to the speakers, the public, members of the public who spoke. Moving on to the business of the meeting. Paige, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we have a quorum.
Okay. I'm going to do my remarks, and then we'll move on to a couple of important presentations. Thanks again to everybody for joining this month's meeting of the MTA Board, which is our last before the election. I've said this before, but it is great that transit has been at the center of this mayoral campaign. People are paying attention to transit, and that's the way it ought to be, because transit, is what, as I always say, is what makes New York possible with our density and our dynamism. The MTA is the government service that most people interact with every day. More than 4.56 million people rode the subway last Thursday. It was a new record, the most since COVID. A total of 6.5 million people altogether use our transit system when you account for buses, paratransit, and the commuter railroads. For those people, the MTA isn't just a way to get to work or to school or to doctor's appointments or anything else. Their experience really is also helping to shape their opinion of how the city and the region are working. Is this a place that is functioning well? Is this a community that seems to be operating in a positive way? Another reason that transit matters so much, it is absolutely gene-linked to the major issues of the moment, like housing and affordability. Experts remind us that if we're going to solve New York's housing problem, we have to start building more density on top of transit. That's an issue that we at the MTA have been pushing for some time with transit-oriented development projects along the Long Island Railroad and Metro North, and by lending support to the city when they are taking action to upzone areas along transit lines, like they did in the Second Avenue subway, and like is being considered, importantly, along the potential right-of-way for the IBX. These are opportunities for us to grow our housing stock and to start to deal with our housing crisis. And sorry about that. As you've heard before, we are deeply focused on affordability, and I always want to reset the discussion. Transit is already a source of affordability. Not part of the affordability problem, part of the affordability solution. It's 15% the cost of owning an automobile. We already have 2 million New Yorkers who are getting free or half-price fares on transit. The average price of a trip on the subway or a bus is not $3, which is where we're going to be on the official rate. It's more like $1.85. That's what the average price of a subway ride is in New York. So transit is already one of the things that makes New York affordable, and we want to keep doing more in this direction. And we are excited in that connection to unlock even more discounts and fare promotions with Tap and Ride. You heard Friday that we hit the 3 billionth tap mark, and almost 90% of folks who ride our transit system are tapping and not using MetroCard. All of the 980 new Omni vending machines have been installed. And almost every customer group, this is the surprise, honestly, every customer group, including our reduced fare customers, we heard so many people speaking from the podium who speak for issues of accessibility and for the disability community, including our reduced fare customers, seniors and people with disabilities predominantly, we are at 90%, and that community, which just got its Omni cards in the mail about 2-3 months ago, is already pushing 70% usage of Omni versus MetroCard. This is a much faster transition than we projected. We got an aggressive strategy to get the last 10% of folks to switch over to Tap and Ride. And part of that is what Shanifa and her customer team are doing. In the next few weeks, we'll be opening another 15 customer service centers, bringing our system-wide total to 30. And tip of the hat to the folks at Transit who are doing all the work to make this necessary, and it'll be manned by station agents who are trained in all of the things that'll helping people to transition to Tap and Ride and to sign up for fair fares. So customers can ask whatever questions they have about Omni or to trade in old MetroCards without having to come to Stone Street. That's where it was when this team started at the MTA. You had to come to Stone Street to trade in your expired or Metro cards. It's nuts. So we are meeting riders where they are. No analysis paralysis. This crowd at the MTA, I think, is getting stuff done on the double. And it wasn't always like that. For people, we always talk about City Ticket. It's a passion that so many of us have because it has opened up the commuter rails to people who live inside the city, a discount for folks who are using Metro North or Long Island Railroad inside the city of New York. Well, it's actually something that was piloted 20 years ago but didn't get expanded. We said, let's ramp it up now, let's do it fast, and already the program is paying for itself with a huge explosion of ridership in the Bronx and in Queens. Later this week, we're going to celebrate station improvements at St. Albans on the Long Island Railroad, a station that has seen a 30% increase in service since we opened Grand Central Madison, and a substantial surge in ridership. Just ask Anita Miller, our labor relations chief, about whether the St. Albans station has gotten any busier. It has. And this MTA is also doing something about fare evasion, a problem that many people said was unfixable and that we should just give in. We are using a range of strategies. Some of them physical intervention at the turnstile, some of them actually deploying gate guards to keep the exit gate closed, the delayed egress, which the governor and her Department of State approved for us to deploy. All of this has succeeded in reducing fare evasion on the subways by 30% in 1 year, 30%. I'm really proud that we've turned that around, and Demetrius and the team at buses are working hard to get ready to make similar progress on the buses. That will be made possible by proof of payment being enabled once we have Omni fully deployed. Mr. Mack has arrived. And with strong support from Governor Hochul, we've made other important safety upgrades as well, like the LED lighting that's now deployed. Demetrius, we got that everywhere in the system now, LED lighting, right? A lot brighter stations. Platform barriers, people are loving that feeling. You can put yourself behind the platform barrier, especially folks with strollers and kids and older people are telling us they love that additional feeling of safety. And most of all, the tens of thousands of security cameras, a lot of them paid for thanks to Governor Hochul. Crime is down this year, and it's 12% down versus the year before COVID. These are all very practical, can-do type improvements, but this crowd at the MTA, and I'm privileged to lead a lot of smart, innovative people in this time. We haven't lost sight of the need to think big, as well as moving quickly. Back in January, you heard it from the podium, the governor proposed a radical idea in her State of the State address, Metro North service to Albany. And guess what? 10 months later, we're doing it. Daily trains are going to start rolling this spring to help out the previously Amtrak customers who've been dealing with much higher fares and less service since Amtrak took the East River tunnels out to do the project their way. No secret that we discouraged that, but Metro North service to Albany is a way to fill the gap that created. Huge kudos to Justin Vonashek and everyone at Metro North, as well as the MTA Policy Shop, led by Dara Goldberg, who pioneered this idea in some of their work. This is also the same team, the MNR team especially, and the policy team that is behind the super express trains that have dramatically cut travel times between New Haven and Poughkeepsie and our New York terminals. Another real improvement for those folks north of the city. And yeah, no secret, we've been having problems getting the biggest of Metro North projects done with our dear friends at Amtrak. They're saying that what they're telling us in their behavior on the Penn Access project, you heard it all from Jamie, but the bottom line is they're telling us they cannot staff a project that is actually 65% state of good repair Amtrak work. We're doing the work for them that has been neglected. Those sections of the railroad are falling apart. They use this for Excella. They've been flying through the Bronx for 100 years without ever stopping to serve people in the Bronx. And yet they cannot put the force account staff and the professionals that allow us to actually get the work done. Most of the time, they don't give us the outages to get any work done. But even when they give us the outages, they can't give us the staff. And they're not performing the elements of the project that they're on. So until they sort out the staffing, our message is we're going to look at ways to get Penn Station access done by ourselves. We promised the service to Bronx customers in 2027, and we are determined to deliver it, even if it is a temporary condition. Even if the platform and the station is a temporary station, even if we have to do some gymnastics to move people back and forth across the railroad line, we want the service to start. Now, Jamie took you through all the details on Monday. If we do this, we're gonna have to delay some of that Amtrak State of Good repair work that is part of the project. But our priority is to get people in Co-op City, Parkchester, and Morris Park service going north to jobs in Westchester and Connecticut, as well as to jobs in Manhattan. Give them that service as promised in 2027. And the community and the elected officials have come out strongly in our favor, and I'm really grateful for that support. Now, we're all disappointed and frustrated by the news about Penn Access, but I want to emphasize the story is frequently different when we at the MTA are in control of our own destiny on construction projects. Yesterday, Demetrius, Jamie, and I went up to Grand Central to celebrate the completion of the 5-year, $700 million plus mega project that's upgrading the state of good repair in the entire Grand Central subway complex. We have new escalators, we have new elevators, we have new entrances, new ways to get on and off that crowded 7 platform, expansion of the Grand Central mezzanine, and my personal favorite, elimination of the chronic leaks thanks to people poking holes in the 42nd Street sidewalk, which made the place miserable. Punchline, the project came in $46 million under budget. That's what we try to accomplish when we are in control of the project and we don't have to rely on others. And another example, we talked last month about the incredibly successful and innovative Park Avenue Viaduct project. 51 months ahead of schedule, $93 million under budget. Notably, the contractor on the Park Avenue Viaduct happens to be the same contractor as the one who's trying to get the Penn Access project done. Exact same contractor. Very similar project. You know, trying to get a ton of work done while a railroad is operating. The difference? No Amtrak. No Amtrak to say you can't have that outage that's been planned for a year. You can't have, you can line all the people up who are ready to work in the middle of the night, and our force account professionals who let you turn off the power and get on the track are not going to show up. When that doesn't happen, when we actually get the outages and staff them, we get the work done. That's the story of the Park Avenue Viaduct. So this is an agency that is taking on the big challenges, and we're in charge. We're delivering for customers, and I am incredibly proud of what we're doing. So, moving on, 2 special presentations coming up today. Chief Taffy, talk about progress. Chief Taffy is going to give you an update on what the MTA PD has been doing and how much is being accomplished with, I think, an incredibly efficient management of resources and personnel under his leadership. So, tip of the hat to that great team at the MTA PD. We're also going to hear from Eric Wilson, who works at C&D as the Senior VP for Climate and Land Use. Today is the 13th anniversary of Sandy, the superstorm that knocked us out. And Eric's going to talk to us about how all of us, the city, the MTA, the state, need to step it up to deliver more stormwater capacity. The timing is, because I said 13th anniversary of Sandy, the timing happens to be incredible. But the improvements are also incredible. We've got some examples on the screen, roughly 500 subway manholes lined, 22 200 coastal mechanical closure devices installed, 100 railroad equipment platforms elevated, and on and on and on. But these are mostly improvements to protect for coastal surge when the water surges on our coast. The other impacts of climate change, torrential rainfall, extreme heat, sea level rise, need also a lot of investment. And we're going to hear from Eric about that. Eric, over to you.
Sorry, good morning, everybody. So as Jano said, today is the 13th anniversary of Superstorm Sandy, transformational impact across the region and the city. And since then, the MTA has undertaken a huge array of mitigations for coastal surge. It was on Earth Day last year when we released our first climate resilience roadmap. In this document was the first of its kind system-wide climate vulnerability assessment. We looked at multiple kinds of risks, including coastal surge, sea level rise, torrential rain, and extreme heat, mapped them out to MTA's infrastructure so that we could prioritize areas where we had the greatest vulnerabilities and start to understand that a little bit more. Based on that analysis, we established 10 goals for climate resilience and outlined an implementation framework, including connecting our recommendations to the capital plan, incorporating resilient design practices into every single capital project that we do so that they're all anticipating future climate risks, working with our operating agencies to make sure we have the information we need to act before an extreme weather event, as well as working with our partner agencies, including our municipal stormwater and roadway utilities, to mitigate impacts on MTA infrastructure. And of course, since we released that roadmap, there has continued to be extreme weather in New York. Major heavy rain events included 2 this past summer in July, including an event on July 14th with over 2 inches per hour intensity, mainly over the west side of Manhattan and into the Bronx. We did have service impacts as a result of that storm, but full service was restored before the morning rush the next day. At the end of the month in July, we had a 2.75 inch per hour intense rainfall event that mainly impacted eastern Queens at the border of Nassau. We did have impacts on the Long Island Railroad Port Washington branch, where we had to evacuate passengers, impacting stations at Bayside and Great Neck. But again, we did have full services restored to the Port Washington branch the next day. I want to share this photo that's on the right of a cascade on the platform at Penn Station, 34th Street, and I want to explain why that happens and why MTA subway infrastructure is vulnerable during torrential rainfall events. But I do want to flag that our climate resilience roadmap is part of a suite of documents that inform the MTA capital plan. We are anticipating climate change in all aspects of how we are advancing projects, including a $700 million program to reduce stormwater flood vulnerabilities across the subway system, and an $800 million program to reduce flooding risks on the Hudson Line, which is actually vulnerable to multiple flood risks, being stormwater runoff from upland areas, as well as coastal surge and flooding from the Hudson River, which is a tidal estuary. So in this climate resilience roadmap that we're releasing today, we do focus on multiple hazards, but the core of the document really updates everyone on major actions that the MTA is taking, where the MTA and our city agency partners have collaborated to reduce risks and successful collaborations. And it is also a call to the city to increase the pace of investments in 10 specific locations across the city that have had chronic impacts. And as I get into the document, I just want to share how the subway system is vulnerable to stormwater runoff. oftentimes, you'll see as you're walking around the city that there are locations where there's low curbs or where there's catch basins that may be clogged. During dry weather, we don't necessarily notice these things, but these things become very they start to exacerbate impacts on the subway system during a torrential rainfall event. And specifically, they exacerbate the risk of runoff into subway vents that are there to provide fresh air to the subways and tunnels below. As well as water flooding onto sidewalks and coming up and flowing into station entrances. These are some of the biggest sources of flooding that we have in the system. And then topping that off, when we have very torrential rainfall events above 1.75 inches per hour, those start to exceed the capacity of the city's sewer system. And so you will start to see some sewer surcharging, which is where water starts to come up outside of the sewer because it's at capacity or even beyond capacity during those intense rainfall events. So it's the combination of all these things that exacerbate flooding risks in the subway system, and we have some steps that we're undertaking to mitigate these risks. So things that the MTA is doing right now. Number one, keeping the stormwater out. This is a photo from Northern Boulevard station where we've just installed an elevator, but also a new top step. And this top step is fairly subtle, but it does provide sufficient elevation to keep stormwater runoff from the sidewalk from just flowing directly into those steps right below. You know, go around, go back into the sidewalk, and go hopefully back onto the street and into the curb. Number two, remove the stormwater that enters. Because we're never going to be able to fully 100% remove stormwater from entering the subway, we are enhancing the subway's hydraulic system. And that's the system that keeps water moving out of the subway tunnels. This is a photo from 116th Street in Lex, the 2-3 station there. It's a 100-year-old pneumatic pumping system that we have in the current capital plan to upgrade among several other pumping systems across the subway system. And then third, protect vulnerable open-cut railroad infrastructure. This is a photo from Mott Haven Yard in the South Bronx, which 98% of Metro North service, all east of Hudson service, travels through Mott Haven Yard as it travels north. And this area is in a low part of the Bronx. It is subject to flooding. We do have a robust allocation in the capital plan to address flooding within our infrastructure. As I'll say in a minute, we also need our city partners to act in this location. I do want to focus on MTA city collaboration. So we do have an interagency task force that includes members from New York City Department of Environmental Protection, the New York City Department of Transportation, myself and C&D, as well as partners in each of the operating agencies in their maintenance of way groups. And we have met over 30 times since 2001 and had over 8 post-storm site visits. And the idea is that we all collaborate, we go to the site and try to troubleshoot what happened, what led to service impacts, what agencies need to do to reduce those impacts on MTA infrastructure. And I want to share an example from Dyckman Street on the A train at Dyckman and Broadway in Upper Manhattan. In July 2022 and Ida in 2021, we had stormwater runoff impacting that station pretty significantly. This is a photo from social media of rain coming down those subway vents that I showed you the illustration of, and that's because of sidewalk overtopping. But we have had no further impacts since 2004 and 2005, and we believe it's because of some of these tactical short-term mitigations that we've been able to install with collaboration with our city partners. So here in the center, I have a couple of photos of actions that the MTA has taken, including elevating vents to prevent stormwater runoff from going inside those vents. We've also elevated the step at the entrance of Dykeman Street. That's at Broadway and Dykeman Street. That didn't have a step before. This is right at the base of Fort Tryon Park, so there's a lot of runoff that can occur there. So those mitigations are from the MTA, but the city has also installed some short-term interventions here, including a new catch basin at that intersection to expand stormwater retention capacity, as well as DOT milled the street to create a little bit more space in the street to hold stormwater. And we're hoping that the combination of these actions prevent further impacts at the Dykeman Street station. So since 2007, we've been tracking more than 200 impacted locations across the city, subways, railroads, and bus infrastructure. Since 2021, when we formed the task force, there have been over 73 locations adjacent to MTA infrastructure where the city has deployed short-term tactical actions. And again, this is either the city's Department of Environmental Protection or the Department of Transportation. But there are additionally 10 chronically impacted communities that we believe are not sufficient, short-term actions are not sufficient. And these are locations where flooding has impacted MTA infrastructure, but it also impacts the surrounding neighborhoods. And we believe that there is more substantive investment that needs to be undertaken by the city. And I want to show you a couple of examples of these. All the red sort of shapes indicate these 10 chronically impacted locations. But the first one I want to share with you is on the west side, Chelsea and Midtown South. This is where a location along 7th Avenue and 8th Avenue where curb heights are especially low. And you can see, especially in this photo on the left, where we have, at max 2.5 inches of curb height, and our subway vents are right behind. So part of the reason why we're constantly seeing stormwater impacts on the 7th Avenue line in this location, 23rd Street, 28th Street, up to, sort of Penn Station, is because of these very low curb heights. Where it's just very easy for stormwater to run off directly into subway vents and into stations. Similarly, on 8th Avenue, it's a similar story. And these are actions, this would be an action that would be completed by the city DOT in this particular location, this particular issue. And then I want to go back up to the South Bronx with the Mott Haven Yard. This is an area of chronic flooding impacts. This is a photo from Ophelia, Tropical Storm Ophelia in September of 2023, where we had service impacts in this particular location. And one of the main reasons why this area floods is just because of constrained sewer capacity. This is an area where the sewers have not been upgraded in a long time, and there is just limited city sewer capacity to move the stormwater away. So while we're investing in the yard, in the infrastructure in the yard, the drainage capacity of the yard on its own, we also need the city to act to expand sewer capacity in this particular area. The Climate Resilience Roadmap update also contains some updates on what we're doing on coastal flooding and extreme heat. There have been significant projects to reduce coastal flood risks, those storm surge risks. This is a photo from the Rockaway Line Resiliency and Rehabilitation Project. Long Island Railroad has also completed a coastal surge protection wall around its Long Island City Yard. And then as far as extreme heat, we are looking at new technologies to reduce extreme heat impacts in particularly challenging stations. And this is a photo from 168th Street on the one train on the Broadway line, which is a very steep, very deep station. We're looking at geothermal and the feasibility of geothermal technologies to potentially reduce heat in this particular location. And we're also working with the Transit Tech Lab to look at new heat recovery technologies that could potentially absorb heat and pull it out of other vulnerable stations. So I'm happy to say that we do have progress on each of the 10 climate resilience roadmap goals that we set in Earth Day of last year. There's progress on each of these. I encourage you to check out the Climate Resilience Roadmap update on the MTA website at mtainfo/climate/resilience. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Questions or comments from the board? Mr. Chu.
Eric, thank you. I just want to, applaud your work. And as a sustainability professional, I just want to make note of the difficulty and the challenges of implementing new technologies, in some cases even cutting edge with some of the thermal technologies, and retrofitting it into an operable system. And perhaps the biggest compliment could come that you and I had spoke about some of the thermal capture, and then I saw it in a really nerdy energy blog, and so the industry is taking notice, and this is really important work, and we've seen it. We've all seen the videos in terms of stormwater management, and it's some people will joke about it. It's not a joke, and I think it's really important for everyone to know that it's being taken seriously, and you're putting a lot of work into it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Grodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Eric, thank you for the presentation. And I just wanted to note that it's my understanding that in addition to the interagency task force that is underway, the DEP commissioner is and has been ready to work closely with MTA C&D. And so as we think about this anniversary and the joint commitment to addressing these core issues, I just think it's worth noting that it's a good time for us to devote some joint energy to that coordination. I think it's really important on both sides, but appreciate the points that you made here. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Blanca Lopez, Midori, and then Mr. O'Donnell. Blanca Lopez.
Thank you. Eric, thank you so much for your presentation. I guess I can speak for the board. We appreciate all of the insight and up-to-date info on this particular issue. With respect to day-to-day operations and stormwater maintenance, who is responsible for that, especially in the subways?
New York City Transit. New York City Transit.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
But not as to, like, for example, Eric talked about what's going on in Westchester Yard. That is Metro North, so
right.
It depends on what territory we're discussing. Midori Vildevi.
Thank you. Eric, I'm impressed with this presentation. Appreciate the work that MTA has done. I'd like to understand more. Of course, we've seen these kind of like viral TikToks around flash flooding, but I would love to learn a little bit more about the numbers. I know MTA, we always say that we're a data-driven agency. What percentage of all delays are, based on these flash flooding incidents across like 365 days a year? So I would love to get that data, Demetrius, to just understand how significant of an issue. That being said, any issue is significant. I know because I came here delayed on trains today. So thank you, Demetrius and Kamel, for hearing some of my complaints this morning. And what is the role of MTA maintenance and action as it relates to like manholes? Don't love that word, but manhole welding for certain stations. I had heard that this is like an issue about manholes and whether like that helps or doesn't help with stormwater management. Would love to hear a little bit more about that. It can also be offline.
Well, the famous geyser that happened in 28th Street because the sewer backed up, we welded it shut after the after the fact. Up to then, folks have been telling us that we shouldn't do that, but once the incredible impact of that sewer backup was evident, we said we are going to weld this short so that even if the city's capacity to process the stormwater in that area is not improved, that our riders are not going to be looking at manholes levitating and maybe taking off their head. So we were discouraged from doing that previously, but in that case, we welded it shut so that our riders can be protected in future. Right, Eric?
That's right, and we did that in coordination with DEP too.
Okay. Okay. Manholes addressed. What else? Anybody else? Okay. Super presentation, and I just want to emphasize, like, there's an update. This is such a hot issue right now for the MTA. There's an updated climate resiliency plan. I mean, these guys put together an incredible roadmap that drove the capital program to a great degree. Now they've updated it, and part of the agenda is to lay out what we have to do to protect against some of this, but also what we need from, in all probability, the next mayoral administration to help us continue to make progress. Okay. Switching gears, we're going to hear from Chief Taffy about the MTA PD's progress, which is first class. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I'd just like to say I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to be part of this team. I watched the presentations before, and I just think that there's so much progress going on, and hopefully we're part of that. I'd like to acknowledge former Chief of Police, James O'Donnell, who's here, who built the foundation for what we're about to see that we're doing here. We're progressing. We're moving forward. It's basically, It's a nice picture. Yeah. I'm here to speak of basically what we've been doing over the last year, what we do and how we do it. But first, who we are. Sometimes we get confused, especially in the city with the NYPD. We do a lot of the same type of work. We collaborate with many law enforcement agencies, including the state police, because this agency runs through so many different towns and jurisdictions. So who we are, we're about 1,350 sworn officers under the state of New York police officers. Our jurisdiction is anywhere the MTA properties go, including Connecticut, in limited jurisdiction around the Connecticut properties. Our primary duty has always been to police Long Island Railroad, Metro North, and Staten Island Railway, and recently into the subways, basically full swing in 2023 with 4 major transit hubs and the governor's scout program that has come to full fruition now in 2025. And then just recently this year, collaboration with the Bridge and Tunnel officers and the MTA and Bridge and Tunnels on the MTA bridges. So what we've done this year, sorry. All right. What we've done this year, install new leadership, including myself. We spent the first couple of months of the year just identifying fresh external leaders and internal leaders and move them up. And there was a lot of promotions in the beginning of the year, and we set a leadership team in motion, and that really was the foundation to how a lot of what we do started. We've modernized, enhanced training, and I'm going to talk to this later, and investigations. We leveraged a lot of new technology to really aid in the deployment on how we how we've deployed fiscally responsible in our deployments. We've introduced CompStat, and not only that, there's a weekly data-driven meeting, which is Wednesday, which is right after this, chaired by Chief Kemper, which really has pushed us forward, where we really dig deep into everything that happens that week, every call, everything, and it's really pushed the numbers really down low. And as I mentioned before, our expanded operations into transit and to B&T. So what is the outcome so far this year? These are the results. It's a safer system, and we're going to go into the actual numbers. Improved customer satisfaction, a more efficient organization, and motivated police officers, which is a big piece of it. The officers themselves doing more with less, as you could say. These officers have been motivated to actually do this job. We support them. We've opened up avenues for them to progress in promotion and in actual location and in style of policing now that we're in transit and we're on the highways. It's given a new life to this agency. So these are the crime stats. A double-digit increase across nearly every one of our major crime stats. These are on the Long Island Railroad, Metro North, and Staten Island Rapid. Sorry, did I say increase? Decrease in double-digit decrease in every one of the nearly every one of the crime categories, leading to a 21% system-wide reduction in crime. It's a little bit of an uptick in grand larcenies, which is one of our smallest crimes. There's actually one more car stolen this year versus last year, and we dig deep into that. There's our Ronkonkoma station is one of the driving areas of that, and we do a lot of work with the local agencies to try and push that number down. This is the quality of life calls within the hub stations. So now we are inside the subways, specifically patrolling 24/7 Grand Central stations, Penn Station, Atlantic Avenue, and JFK Airport in Jamaica. We look at these quality of life calls. We used to have it where we would see it the week after the calls came in. We've now leveraged technology to actually see these calls primarily directly to us, because this used to be to us and the NYPD, because the NYPD was primarily responsible for these calls, but now we also assist with that. What has occurred? Well, a 58% year-over-year reduction in quality of life complaints. That's a pretty big number. And since we started in actually 2022, there's been a total of 63% reduction in quality of life calls. And these are calls of people concerned about quality of life issues within these 4 stations. The customers are feeling it. They are happy. On the Long Island Railroad and Metro North, it always has been very high, and it's creeping up higher from spring to 24 to 25. You see, 5% increases and 3% increases on the rails, but even of more concern to us, which is the subways, which there is some lower satisfaction, and we're pushing it up. Once again, double-digit increases this time in all of those customer satisfaction and how they feel inside those subways where we patrol. One of the things I'm going to talk about is how we collaborate with the other agencies that we support. We have a customer-centric approach where we go to the agency and ask them, how can we help them do their job? This is fare disputes in Long Island Railroad and Metro North. There was a big push in the middle of last year to really focus on recidivism, focused on people who are, habitually do not pay their fares. The result was a dramatic increase in calls for us to come help on those 2 rail lines. We responded. The blue is the calls for help. The orange is our response. We responded, and we enforced the rules. We changed our policy. It's pretty much at minimum, the person gets removed from the train, and almost nearly every time the person is going to get a summons or an arrest if the person has a warrant or they don't have identification. And you could see that after that first spike, it went down, but there's still sustained level, meaning that the conductors are still relying on us, and we still respond in kind. This is fare evasion, jumping from fare evasion on the rails to fare evasion in the subway. These are our hub stations. Chairman Levy, you just mentioned that there was a 30% decrease in fare evasion in the subways overall. In our hub stations, it's 40%. So we're happy to see that it's above the actual average. This is on top of a 13% increase in fare evasion enforcement from our officers. So how are we doing this? I mentioned it earlier, we're building a culture of efficiency, and a lot of this is based off of the vision that the chairman had for this agency, in what we were meant to do and how do we support this agency, and how are we fiscally responsible in supporting the agency. I mentioned it, agency-centric approach, sitting with the presidents of the agencies, asking them how we can help them. Is it on-time performance? Is it traffic enforcement? What is it that we can do to ensure that their operating agency is working at the best it can? Strategic deployments. This is the use of technology to find out where things are happening and to deploy the officers there. If you look at the customer satisfaction on the rails, we actually chart every single station from A to F as if it was graded. And then if it's an A station, we visit there, but if it's an F station, we put a lot of resources to that station to try and bring that letter grade up for the next customer satisfaction survey. Focused enforcement. We use our intelligence division that I'll talk about later to really find the recidivists, figure out who's doing what, and really get to them quickly before they can offend again. And then maximizing resources. It's a common term that people use. This is a perfect example. The vehicle that you see there is maximizing resources. Instead of buying a new police vehicle, we've actually used surplus vehicles from the bridge and tunnels and just repainted them and restriped them. Instead of actually having to buy new bridges, now that we're doing patrol on the bridges, we need more vehicles, right? We're actually using surplus vehicles to do that. So what are the results when it comes to fiscal responsibility? This is one of them. Train patrols is something that everybody always asks for. The customer asks for, the conductors always ask about it. The unions, the agencies themselves, the chairman yourself even saying that this is a core mission of our agency to ride these trains and keep the customers safe and happy, right? And so, as you could see, in 2021 to 2022, and now in 2023, we really increased the number of train patrols dramatically. Previously, we used a lot of overtime to do this, and you could see that since we took this fiscally responsible approach. We've actually doubled the number of train patrols and cut the amount of overtime in half at the same time. Basically the same thing with fare evasion. This is fare evasion in the subways. We had a really big push in 2023 to really enforce the rules when it comes to fare evasion. Prior to that, as you can see, MTA officers were in the subways, but they weren't really enforcing the rules. And we found that they really weren't trained very well in the subways yet, and they never really wrote tab summonses. And so we trained them to write tab summonses. You could see there was a very big push in 2023, but it also cost us $6.9 million in overtime. Since then, we've readjusted. We've once again done more with less. We've really focused enforcement. We've took officers, motivated officers, put them in the subway. And you can see here we've saved, over this year, we'll probably save over $5 million in overtime when it comes to fare evasion, but still have a 13% increase in enforcement. This is new for 2025. We are now 24/7 on the Bronx-Whitestone-Throgs Neck Bridge that started in March. We're also working on the small spans that just happened this last month. This is a collaborative approach with Bridge and Tunnels to really focus on toll evasion, right? Traffic enforcement and traffic mitigation on these bridges. As you can see here, since March, on the bridges alone, the two main bridges, we've issued over 5,000 summonses. We've seized 500 vehicles, and these are rounded numbers, and have had at least 100 arrests, and this is through September. We also work in the congestion relief zone. We started as soon as that went into effect. We started operating in that area, and we've had the same progress there. 3,600 vehicle summonses issued. Most of these vehicle summonses are exclusively about unregistered vehicles, fake plates, covered plates, everything that is being done to try to avoid these tolls. And what comes along with fake plates and covered plates is also other criminality. And that's why you see we have had at least 100 arrests for forged plates and other types of events, including a few weapons arrests and guns. This is a quick sort of study on efficiencies and the collaboration and everything else we just talked about. This is the strategic decision centers. One of the champions of this, Inspector Chuck Pizzanelli, just recently received an award from Metro North because of this. It's really about, once again, agency-centric. How do we reduce police-related delays on the rails? And what we found is that, the old way of calling the police and then waiting for the police to come takes a long time, especially when we have a very large territory to cover. In this situation, we have a supervisor that actually works inside the rail control center, our supervisor, who works with the rail control center to find the best route of the train and the cop and get them to meet in between. Technology is helpful. We can monitor trains, obviously, and now we can monitor police officers, too, through their GPS on their vehicles or through their body-worn cameras. Get them both to the same place quicker. You can see here in the last 2024 full year of it, there was a 71% drop in the number of minutes lost to police delays and a 55% drop in number of trains that were actually effective. And we're hoping, as what we want to be part of a lot of the success in these agencies, we hopefully that this was part of the success that Metro North has had with its on-time performance. As many people know, that we are expanded also further into the subways, past our hub stations, with the use of the scout teams, which was one of the governor's directives a few years back. We've came to full fruition in 2025, meaning we have 10 actual teams, which was the original plan. That happened ahead of time. Those 10 teams now operate in all of the boroughs in the city where the subways serve. And we actually have the first of the kind in the nation. We actually have a train patrol that actually is a scout team at the same time. So we're on the trains actually looking for persons, generally homeless, but with mental deficiencies that where we can come and support them. We work with clinicians from the city to remove these people as needed. You can see the mental health removals year over year have gone up dramatically. We also do medical removals when we find persons who are in distress medically, and also we help with placement if they do not need medical help, but they just need a place to stay. We help with placement. You can see all of these numbers have gone up dramatically in 2025. A little quick, behind-the-scenes stuff on how we get a lot of this done. The investigative process that we have Prior to it, it was just the detective division that was here. It was a small unit. We've grown that unit pretty dramatically. We've created an intelligence division that helps us with the recidivists. It also helps us with major events that are occurring to know, what our deployment should look like in case of, a large event or a protest may be occurring. We know that we can redeploy as needed. And we also created a special investigation division, which has been very, very helpful with tracking down known perpetrators quickly and getting them off the streets before something else can happen again. And also, by way of motivation, the special conditions unit that we created has motivated officers. It's like a police unit, a police officer unit, where they're, as they succeed in that unit, they're able to then get promoted to detective. Training, very, very big part of it. Very big. This board has been very instrumental in that, in helping us acquire a police academy in Queens. It's set to open in hopefully the summer, but latest should be Q3 of 2026. In the meantime, we've gotten ready for this training by getting our recruit training certified by the state. So once this academy opens, we'll be able to train our officers in our curriculum. Prior, we worked with other agencies, primarily the NYPD, where our officers, in effect, learned their policies and their procedures and then had to relearn it once they came out. In this situation, obviously, we're going to have a custom curriculum for our officers. It's going to reduce, as part of the plan, it's going to actually reduce some of the overtime as well, because we won't have to train them as long, and so we won't have to backfill officers while these officers are in training, up to possibly 3 months. And our expansion of our leadership training has been very big. Most of our commanders are actually Trilogy certified, which is FBI leadership training certified, which started a few years back. And finally, once again, behind the scenes, protecting against the worst case scenarios, counterterrorism, active shooters. We've dramatically increased the number of scenarios and exercises we do, multi-agency scenarios, tabletop exercises. We've recently conducted a large one, as you can see in the picture, with Grand Central Terminal. In a few weeks, we're going to do one in another station. I'm not going to name the station, but another large station. We're going to do an active shooter / bomb training. And that's it. And I really would like to thank, and I mentioned it before, Chairman Lieber, the vision that you had and what we do here. And I'm very happy once again to be part of this. Without your vision, I'd really like to thank obviously Chief Kemper, who beginning this year really pushed forward on a lot of these strategic initiatives that we did. We met constantly about it, and now we're meeting for 2026 strategic initiatives very soon. The board, once again, for helping us financially, especially with the police academy. But my greatest thanks, of course, is to the men and women of the MTA Police Department, the command staff, the frontline supervisors, and the police officers that have been motivated to actually do this job, that allow me to come here and give you very good news instead of bad news. And that's it. Thank you.
I got a version of that presentation about 10 days ago, and I said we have to share this with the board. It's amazing to see the increase in the stuff that the public is reliant on. Train patrols, 40% reduction in fare evasion at the terminals where we man or staff the subway entrances, and also a reduction in overtime and all these other indicia of becoming fiscally responsible. Amazing, amazing work. So thank you. There was a hand raised. Hayden Mahaltzis.
Thank you, Chief, for that presentation. You made a comment saying that you're doing more with less. Are you having problems recruiting? Is there something we can help you with? What? I didn't understand that.
Well, it's more with less is usually is either fiscally with money or with actually officers. There was hiring and recruiting is it's fickle. Sometimes if you don't have the tests on time, you lose, a test goes expired and you don't have right now we have a number of less officers because we're just finishing up a new test, right? Supervisor tests the same way. If they're not done in cadence, tests expire and all of a sudden you don't have that many people. It's not a recruiting issue. As much as just the timing of certain things on when and our great expansion that we've had in going into the subways, into the bridge and tunnels. Also, it's just that we don't just throw people officers at a task now. We look for the right officers. That fare evasion is a perfect example. And we would put dozens of police officers in the subway and not get much out of it. They would, warn people or push whatever, do whatever, But now we have a specific group of people that we actually interviewed for that task, and we had a large number of people that actually put in for it, strangely enough, because they're motivated, and those officers are down there actually doing much more work than they would.
Okay. And can you tell us how many officers you have, or?
It's about 13,500 right now. 1,300, 13,000.
1,300,
If you want me to get
right. Okay, I was
13,000.
gonna say, whoa.
I'm used to my
That's-
other
he
agencies.
comes
That's
from the
great.
He comes from the NYPD.
Yes.
As a show.
1,300. I've done that like several times. I keep saying that. 1,350. 1,350.
Great. Thank you very much.
Blanca Lopez, Mr. Leathers, Mr. Mack, Mr. Chu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief Taffy. Very informative. Can you talk a little bit about the interaction that you have with the local chiefs of police from the municipalities that are served by commuter rail? And also, is there an additional action plan or whatnot with the local police departments where the stations are graded DF? Or you were talking about the grading system. Thank you.
Yeah, what we do is, because it's region-based, we have our regional chiefs that work very closely with the local chiefs of every area, and we are part of their associations, so the Westchester Chief Association, Nassau Association, Suffolk Association. We go to meetings with them a lot, just to collaborate with them, but we and I will specifically reach out if there's specific issues, even sometimes to the local mayors. There is, I won't mention some of them, but we've had actually a back and forth with some of the mayors about, what's theirs versus what's ours, and sometimes we get frustrated with that, like with the parking lots. Some are not, they're not our parking lots, but the cars being stolen from there, and we have to get the other agencies to help us out. But mostly collaborative, almost exclusively collaborative, where the chiefs are very happy with what we do. Here in the city, you have the NYPD. It's a very big organization. But when you go out into the other areas, we become the bigger organization. 1,350 is a large number to a small town, where we can then help with our bomb-sniffing dogs or with our ESU as needed. So we become like their help to them. So it's a good collaboration.
Thank you. Just one more question as a follow-up. The MTA PD is still part of the Real-Time Crime Center for Westchester County?
Yes.
Okay, and also the county is going to, well, they're already starting their hazard mitigation plan that they'll be working on in 2026. So we'll definitely be reaching out to you for participation.
We actually, we'd mentioned in a prior presentation about the use of Slack that the agency has adopted. That actually started from Westchester in the real time. It's been very helpful in how they do it.
Mr. Leathers, great partnership with the folks Mr. Leathers represents, but go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief Taffy, for that presentation, and to Chief Kemper. We at the Railroad appreciate all that you do in supporting our efforts for not only fare collection, but also when we're working on the infrastructure. We need your support in order to, let's say, if we're renewing a grade crossing, your officers are there to support us as we do the work that we do and support not only rehabilitating the infrastructure, but dealing with the community and the residents around. So we appreciate that. The safety, the improved safety that your presence provides is evidently seen in, I believe, improved ridership. We're seeing record numbers in our ridership. And, just you guys, your presence there is appreciated. I want to thank you and all of your professionals. I know sometimes they may feel like they don't get the credit that they deserve, but today we want to say thank you. So we appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Leathers.
Thank you. Actually, yesterday was First Responder Day.
Mr. Mack.
Yeah, hi, Chief.
Sir.
Number one, what are we doing? And I've been on this for the last 2 years, responding to the increase in blackened windows, where you can't see not only who's driving, but who's in the back seat. But we can't control the back seat. But you can control the front. Now, we all know the crazies. And when I was vice chairman, we had enforcement continually and training and summonses for the blackened windows. We have to protect our tunnels and bridges. Number two, the fare evasion for plates. Even today when I came in, I counted 9 cars in fare evasion where you can't see the license plates. Now, with the support of New York City State Police, you've done a very good job occasionally to enforce that. Just remember, the dollar amount that you get for when someone is caught for fare evasion is 4 times or 5 times the amount of money. So the revenue, it almost pays to have a continual presence. And I'll say last but not least, if you watch Channel 12, Suffolk County on its own did a license plate enforcement. And they had a ride along, and it was very interesting how many summonses they gave. In Nassau County, we're doing the same. And I just think that the fare evasion monetarily is important in all the bridges and tunnels. Now, I'm on the highway all the time. We have a shortage of manpower, of course, in New York City, I don't have to tell you. But in the MTA as well. In Nassau County, we just graduated a class and put a class in. And in May, we'll have another class. That's the most important for the police department, to have new people and good supervision. Again, you can look at my crossing record. It's at least 2 or 3 times a day because I have different interests besides the police, Nassau. And I go back and forth. So that is my criteria that I like to see, especially the dark windows and the fare evasion with these license plates. They're all over the county, the city, and the state.
Mr. Chief?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at an email I actually wrote just yesterday to our highway unit talking about the tip meters. We have to update our tip meters. I agree 100%, and I believe that the bridge and tunnel officers have been training, and I could let President Sharon speak to that. The bridge and tunnel officers have been training on tip meters. I think it was just presented about the number of officers that they actually have trained to do that and the enforcement increase in that area. We would like to do the same thing in kind. So literally looking at an email just yesterday, there's an Office of Public Safety, Highway Safety and Technology unit in the state that helps with equipment. Maybe they can, we're looking to see if they can help us with not only DWI equipment, but also with tint equipment, or purchase some new equipment for our officers and train them up on that. I'll let President Sheraton talk to the rest of that.
Sure. So actually, we have increased our tint enforcement. In 2025, We've had a 24% increase from 2024 and a 35% increase from 2023. We had a focused operation about 2 weeks ago where we had a 2-week period where we issued 300 summonses for excessive tint on windows. So we are changing the course on this.
And as the other, I agree with everything you say, with the collaboration with the other agencies, with the amount of people who try to evade the tolls, and that's why you see our numbers in the tens of thousands now across the entire city, between the congestion relief zone, the streets of the city where we also make stops, and the bridges.
And just a reminder that it was, we've had these intensive multi-agency task force enforcement operations for about 2 years now, Kathy Sheridan, it's about
Yes.
2 years. We are the MTA, under the Bridges and Tunnels, but supported by the MTA PD, are the ones who originated that operation and have brought all these agencies, including state police, NYPD, and Port Authority, counties, and so on together. And we're going to continue to emphasize those operations, which are good for everybody. Getting rid of the ghost plates is good for everybody, anti-crime. It's not just MTA revenue. Mr. Mack had some more comments. Go ahead.
The Highway Patrol Division I started, the men and women have to be more alert. Even though the accidents are down, the driving habits of people are outrageous. So, and again, you're right, and I must tell you, our response time in Nassau County PD is excellent as soon as we get a call regarding a problem.
Mr. O'Donnell had a comment.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the shout out. Love the picture of the trooper and, of course, our MTA PD, right? When we started in 1998, we had the merger, about 225 from Long Island Railroad Police and 225 from Metro North Police. And then from that 450, after 9/11, we went to 750. So I'm glad to see that we're now at 1,350. And I always talk about this with the crime. The one thing that prevents crime is visibility, visibility, visibility. And it's a joy to see all of our men and women in the MTA patch on their shoulder out there protecting all of us. And a shout out to my former colleagues that were there on 9/11. I also like to make sure I point this out. On the Monday after the Tuesday of 9/11, ridership on all MTA was 97%. And that's a tribute to the men and women of the MTA PD being out there, being visible, and having the confidence of the riding public. And I'm glad to see that both of you are keeping up that tradition. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Mr. Valenti.
Thanks, Chair. Chief, I just want to thank you for the presentation. I want to echo Chris Leather's comments for Metro North. We've seen a lot of progress in the last 2 years in terms of train patrols. The increase of patrols is something we'd love to see from a union standpoint. Also, it's not just arrest and the summons, it's following that through with the prosecution, working with us, working with the DA to ensure that people are prosecuted and held accountable for whether it's fare evasion or assault on a conductor or a station ambassador. That's key, and that's changed, and that's what makes a big difference. Deters crime and holds people accountable. Also, the detectives have been great. If people aren't caught on the spot for whatever reason, they've caught them after the fact numerous times. So we do appreciate the support. Also, I do want to mention that it's also your willingness in to engage and come to events that we host in our crew facilities. it's not easy to, stand up and be criticized for, what you're doing, you could be doing better, and you do that. You do that multiple times a year, and you take those criticisms and you do something about it, and you do better every time. So I just want to say we appreciate that, we applaud that, and I'm looking forward to 2026 to keep this headed in the right direction, expand on the train patrols as much as we can, and continue down this path. So thank you.
Thank you. We call that blindsiding, where we actually, what is our blind side? What are we missing? What are we doing that we think is right that may not be right? And getting criticism is something that we want. We want that to see if we are doing the right thing. We are a service agency. We are focused on customer service, quality customer service. So thank you for being honest with us. And anybody, we could expand that to anybody, any organization that wants to have these sessions. We sit down, we talk, and say, what are the needs, and are we doing it correctly?
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Or okay, we're in good shape. We're two extraordinary presentations in two areas where the MTA is really excelling. So we got a lot of things to improve, as Chief Taffy would say, but these are two areas where I think we're really making progress. Okay, we're going to move to the business of the meeting. First up is the capital program amendment. Steve Lohr of MTA C&D.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Stephen Lord, Deputy Chief Development Officer in C&D, and today I'll be presenting the fifth amendment to the 2020 to 24 capital plan. Just as a reminder, since the creation of C&D 6 years ago, we started doing these amendments annually as a sort of good housekeeping measure for the capital program. It lets us update project costs, project schedules, project funding, and incorporate any new emerging needs into the capital plan as it runs through. So on this one, overall, the amendment reduces the total dollar value of the plan by $130 million, down to $55.4 billion. This is for two reasons. It reflects savings realized from implementing congestion pricing under budget, and a reduction in the budget of the Penn Station reconstruction project, which, as you know, is now being led by the federal government. So that's the small reduction in the overall plan size. And then at an individual project level, there are a bunch of different small project changes, but of three types. First, the amendment incorporates a variety of changes to project costs. So this includes over $600 million in savings across various areas. The Omni program under budget, the ADA program under budget, the signal modernization program under budget, the bridges and tunnels program under budget, elevator and escalator replacements under budget, and some smaller increases to certain projects, in particular infrastructure and rolling stock, but offset by all of those under budget projects. So the first set of changes. The second are changes to project schedules, in particular shifting a couple of projects from the 2020 to 24 plan into the 25 to 29 plan to better coordinate with other newly funded work. So just an example of the flavor of this sort of thing, the 190th Street A station had been slated to get state of good repair work in the 2020 to 24 plan. It's since been prioritized for ADA upgrades in the 25 to 29 plan, so we are shifting that state of good repair work to do it concurrently with the ADA and moving the whole project into 25 to 29. We do that sort of thing. And then the third type of change, and perhaps most important, the amendment then reinvests that savings I mentioned into new projects. So these include a net increase of 2 additional ADA subway stations, drainage improvements at the Westchester Yard, substation hardening at Penn Station for Long Island Railroad, safety fencing at the Throgs Neck Bridge, and the platform fences you see rolling out at over 100 subway stations. Those are all added into the plan since it started. So it's a quick summary. There are copies of this book. I think they're in the back. You guys should get them today. So if you have questions as you look through, happy to answer those. There's a staff summary in the board material. And today we're requesting both board approval and board authorization to submit this to the CPRB as we do. They have 30 days once we submit it. So any questions before we do that?
So let me make sure I understand. You saved a lot of money so we can invest in more projects, right?
Exactly right.
Good headlines. Hayden Mihalcis, Midori Valdivia, Mr.
Steve, where's the books that list the projects?
I think they're in the conference room.
In
They're
there?
up here. Yeah, we
Okay.
got them. Yeah.
Great, and you'll give them
I
to
have
us?
one. Yeah,
And we'll go
yes.
through them?
So you're getting
And if we
one
have
right
any
now.
questions, we should call you?
Yes, sure.
And you'll take
Yes.
the call. Thank you.
Yes, happy to.
Yeah, I think they were on director's desk as well, but here's the hard copy. Midori Valdivia.
Yeah, I'm just curious why there was no presentation on this. Capital plan amendments are a pretty big thing that we do here on the board. And as city members, obviously, we're very invested in critical city projects, especially the things that you advance. I just, had, I think, 40 minutes of presentations, but this is, I understand that you might think that it's procedural, but I feel like it's one of the big things we do as a board. We spend so much time, 20 to 2024, 15 to 19, on the plan. And so when we make amendments, I think it should have a presentation and kind of an
Okay,
approach.
let's do it. Jamie, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I think the information has been made available to the board, and we did, notify the board that this was coming last week, and so certainly have been happy to answer any questions.
I mean, the material's on director's desk, but it sounds like the request is for more detail. Could you just go back over some of what are the significant changes? I don't know if, in the presentation, I think covered some of it, but let's go back over it. What are the changes in this capital plan amendment that the board needs to know about if they didn't get it on director's desk and in the board communications that have already taken place?
Yeah, sure. So there's as I said, probably most importantly, there's new projects that in order to move forward, we have to formally reflect them in the plan. Some of those have started, and we're sort of memorializing that now. Some of those are things that we're looking to move forward now, and if it increases a budget category by a certain amount, as you know, I'm sure that's 10% threshold, they have to be updated in the plan, they have to be submitted to CPRB. Those aren't really new news, so like the platform fences, you guys are aware of that. The new ADA subway stations was first announced Monday. We've been working on that for some time, adjusting pluses and minuses between this plan and the next plan. The drainage project at Westchester Yard, that's a brand new one. We've been working with Subways, who's made that a priority for quite some time. And because we have coastal flood work at the Westchester Yard in the plan, we've wanted to increase that and at the same time do drainage work for, as Eric was talking about earlier, for stormwater flooding. So those are the those are the things in order to move them forward, we have to get them in here. The rest of these items are really as projects advance and the costs change on, from either projects that we've now awarded at a lower budget or projects that we've completed at a lower budget. We're just, I agree, it's not administrative, but it's reflecting, here are the actual numbers that we're seeing on each of those things. And there's, hundreds of small pluses and minuses, and we're sort of, summing up the total of those things is a net savings on work that we've advanced either into construction or completion on the whole, and then some changes in some projects, originally were programmed for this year and we're programming them for a different year. Those are the sorts of changes. But the big thing, in order to make progress is authorizing some of the additional projects that we want to move forward and need your approval to do so.
Anything else you want to add, Jamie?
I just emphasize the good news that Steve mentioned off the top, which is the implementation of congestion relief came in $65 million under budget, so we're harvesting those savings to put them into the projects that Steve just went through. We also, because of the improved management that we've undertaken on the new fair payment system, Omni, we're bringing that in for New York City Transit under budget. And still on target for substantial completion this year. And then Steve mentioned it as well, that now that the federal government is leading the Penn reconstruction project, we're able to amend those dollars out of the plan that we had in for design. So those are the major, that plus, as Stephen said, all of the smaller projects that have come in under budget. And we've described this to the board many times over the last couple of years, that we've identified $3 billion in money that we've saved since 2020 through better, faster, cheaper delivery of the plan. This is a subset of that, the dollars that were actually in the 20 to 24 plan. Those are being harvested in order to support all of that in order to support the new projects that Stephen mentioned.
Right. I'm going to Mr. Jones, and I'll come back to Midori Valdivia.
I have a concern. I'm going to vote for this. I'm satisfied. But the timeliness of getting this information, some of it very dense, it seems to be a perpetual problem of when we get information. And I'm concerned that as a fiduciary here, I'll take what's said, but I need at least a week's in advance when you're talking about many millions of dollars to at least look at something and integrate it. That's my concern. This has been sort of in my time on the board, been a perpetual concern of at the very last moment, either in the books or in that pamphlet that's now in the room, we're really not given enough time to integrate it and give you a reasoned support. I'll support this, but I'm concerned.
Well, let's just put it this way. We're going to have a vote on it, but if there are any specific concerns, David, if there are any specific concerns you want to articulate in the future, we can, there's no reason we can't continue to amend these plans. We have one scheduled routine adjustment. I think you've heard the substance of this a few times over now today, but if after your additional review that you do have any concerns, there's no reason we cannot make additional adjustments to the capital plan. It's very much within our purview as a board. But I take your point, and we'll, in addition to providing it on director's desk, we thought that was the normal course of action, but we're happy to talk about other ways we can share information with the board. Back to Midori Valdivia, and I guess Hayda has comments as well.
Hayda can go first.
No, Steve, you can show us where certain stations are being painted and everything in here?
It's in 25 to 29, the one
Okay.
you're asking about, yes,
Okay,
I'm happy
all right,
to
so
go
I'll
through
come
the-
back and you
yes.
can walk me through it. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yep.
So maybe these are more budget type questions, but I had heard, it's really great. Omni, reduction in costs, excellent. So when you have those savings, how is that dispersed between New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North? I'm a city member. And so, I know capital plan, especially with congestion pricing, has an 80-20-20, but I kind of want to see, and I want to understand how these kind of bigger multi-agency projects, including like congestion pricing, how they get reinvested in the capital plan as it relates to city projects.
Yep, sure, understood. The just at a high level, the agency budgets are unchanged. The reinvestment occurs within. If it's transit savings, it's within transit, and so on.
But am I right to understand that New York City Transit budget is a $19 million reduction?
So there's a, I don't know, fraction of a percentage of each agency's cost that since the program was created, these are sort of shared services or administrative costs that now are in the interagency line item, basically reflecting these are now covered by MTA C&D. So it's very budgety. Essentially, these would have previously
I love
been
budgets.
They would have
That's
been
how I
line
grew
items
up,
in each
so-
agencies
Okay.
for staff support or other, insurance, other administrative costs. They're now just executed in a consolidated way in that interagency line. You see.
Okay, and then when will MTA kick off the Second Avenue Subway West Extension study? I know there was some discussion around that, and I know that's in the capital plan.
That study is underway.
That's in the 25 to 29 plan. We're not taking action on that 25 to.
The study is funded in 2024 because
This is only about the program, which is technically expired in calendar-wise, 20 to 24, but the work continues to unfold. So there's savings. How are we adjusting based on the reality of when the bids come in and projects cost different than they were scheduled to cost? But the 25 to 29 plan is unchanged. Jamie.
And just to be clear, Chair, on that specific item, the board member is correct. The legislature and the governor provided funding to do a feasibility study of basically continuing the Second Avenue Subway project west along 125th Street. This showed up as very favorable in our comparative evaluation that we did as part of the needs assessment. And that feasibility study is funded in the 20 to 24 plan, unchanged from a budget point of view here, and the study is underway.
Correction. Okay. All right. By all means, Hayda has one. Sammy has one. Okay.
Yeah, just on process, given the topic we landed on in terms of information, should there be any inquiries or requests for information or clarification from the CPRB, perhaps it's a good idea to also share those, those inquiries and responses, with the board. And I think that, just another set of lens for us to look for. Hope, I don't think it'll be much more substantive than the last time the CPRB had a crack at our plan, but I think it'd be helpful.
Will
Good
do.
point. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Okay. All right, I'll make the motion for the approval of the amendment to the 2020 to 2024 capital plan. May I have a second? Mr. O'Donnell has a second. And Mr. Mack. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? Okay, the item is carried. We have, we talk a lot about the Fair Fares program, which is this board, and without always formality, has consistently supported the idea of increasing both the eligibility threshold so that more people could get the benefit of half-price transit, so that people who are, the income standard for eligibility would be raised. And we've also worked with the city to try to expand the marketing and the enrollment, which has been a chronic challenge. And we've urged the city to invest some of this, the money that's not being spent, that's in the budget, in marketing that. And we've also undertaken our own, in effect, our own enrollment initiatives. Shanifa's team now has at all those customer service centers is signing people up for Fair Fares, letting people know that 24/7, right, they can sign up for Fair Fares at one of these now 30 stations. And there's technology that's been provided to those stations to allow people to sign up. So we're big supporters of Fair Fares. There was a discussion that's happened in recent weeks among the board about our interest in further expansions, and I just want to ask Melva Miller, who's been part of that discussion, to talk about some of the ideas that have been kicked around.
Sure. I'm not really ready to talk about the ideas, but based on all the hard work of this board and based on the desire of this board, I was prepared to submit a resolution today around Fair Fares. But in light of the city's decision to increase it 5% from 145 to 150% of a poverty level, I will not introduce the resolution today. That will give the board the opportunity to discuss it and further, especially with the new administration coming in, that we look very forward to working with on this, this increase of eligibility for Fair Fares and marketing. But I do look forward to proposing the submission of this resolution at a later time. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
So I guess I've worked 10 years on Fair Fares. It seems like a lifetime now. And I do want to be supportive minimum wage wouldn't be eligible. And that one of the need this kind of support and subsidy. So I'm very happy to be supportive of it, with recognition. My original appointing mayor got terribly upset with me because he hadn't done the analysis of the hit on the city's budget. This is totally a city cost. But I think already what Jano and this organization has done has facilitated enrollment in unique ways and has moved the city along in its path. So again, I'm very supportive. I recognize we have to talk to the new mayoral administration, but I certainly will be there with many of the advocates in this audience to try to extend it to more and more people who are going to need it against the high cost of living in the city of New York.
Thank you, David. Blanca Lopez, Randy Glucksman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be more than happy to also support that when the time comes. However, if we could also, when we're starting to have that discussion, if we could also have a refresher of how fair fares work, just because we have new board members, and I know I've seen a presentation, but it's been some time now, so it would be great to have a presentation as well. Thank you.
Good idea. Randy Gluck.
Great support for this. Yes, go ahead. I heard something before that they can go to the customer service center and they can get approval. Was I right in understanding
Yeah,
that?
that's what I just said. Yeah. Okay,
So,
yeah.
I mean, just like that. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Andrew Albert.
I support this, obviously, as most of everybody does, and I think we should explore the possibility of having fair fares for the railroads as well, for those folks that cannot afford the fares there as well.
We're happy to talk to the county governments about their interest in following the city's leadership on this issue. Other folks wishing to be heard? I think, was there somebody else wishing to be heard? Okay. All right, so we're, in effect, tabling action on this until there's, until some future board meeting and there's more discussion to be had. So moving on to our regular, one more time. Yes, go ahead, Midori Valdez.
Sorry about that. Not actually, your point about tabling this action is an interesting one. So just a refresher for the board, how do things get on the agenda for this board for the day?
Paige, you want to help me out here? Because usually we put together the agenda.
Right, and this was not on the agenda, I thought, last week, but I could be mistaken.
That's correct. Usually we put together an agenda. The agenda is provided to the board on director's desk. This was not on the agenda, and that's why it's being tabled and will probably be put forth at a different board meeting. And I think that board member Miller indicated that. So that would go on the agenda if that comes to light.
But if a board member would like to bring something to the agenda, who do we discuss it with to ensure that it can get on the agenda within time for board discussion and deliberation?
If it's in order, it can go on to the agenda at under new business, if there's new business, assuming that it's in order.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mack on Robert's Rules of Order? Okay, thank you, okay. So speaking of regular order, our regular board business, the minutes of the September board meeting and the minutes from each committee have been distributed. Are there any corrections or omissions other than those we talked about on Monday, Mr. Albert? Okay. If there are no further corrections or omissions, the minutes are approved as distributed. Starting off with the Corporate Governance Committee report, there was a meeting on Monday, and coming out of that, there's a request for approval of the MTA committee charters and one MTA all-agency policy directive. The committee discussed these items. There was no quorum present. Therefore, the items are included in today's materials for consideration and a vote without a recommendation for the committee. May I have a motion to approve the corporate governance? Anybody? Thank you, Blanca Lopez. May I have a second? Mr. O'Donnell. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention?
Mr. Chair, if I could just make a quick comment on that.
But, okay.
If that's okay.
Hold that vote. Okay, go ahead.
With respect to the addition of accessibility in the charter for the Diversity Committee, I want to thank Dr. Rizzo, who started that dialogue, and I want to thank Lourdes and her team for the work they've done in making those changes. So we are appreciative of hearing more about issues and updates impacting that community. So we're excited to move forward. Thanks.
Okay, so good news. Corporate governance, the approval was almost there. Any opposition or abstention? We have, the items are approved. Mr. Chu, would you tell us about the B&T report?
Chair, the Bridges and Tunnels Committee met Monday and reports the following. There are two items for board approval. The first seeks approval for the TBTA to design, pursuant to law, a weigh-in motion program on the RFK Bridge. Which the second item seeks approval to allow TBTA to establish pursuant to law a work zone speed enforcement program. The committee recommends these items. and I move them. Before we solicit a second, it's worth mentioning that although the committee was very supportive of both these measures, I think it was pretty unanimous amongst the committee that we hope that in a future statute that there's flexibility for the punitive measures for both of these programs to be increased, because I think we all felt that they were light and kind of limited their ability to have the greatest impact. So,
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Mr. Mack, you want to second it?
I'll second it.
But you want to comment?
Yeah, my comment is that on forgetting bridges and tunnels in our domain, there have been many accidents upstate where people don't adhere to the speed limit. And Jimmy, you'll attest to that, am I correct?
All the time with you, David.
All right. Motion to approve the 2 items from the Bridges and Tunnels Committee. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? The items carry.
Chair, this includes the Bridges and Tunnels report.
Back to Ms. Lopez for the Railroad Committee.
We do not have any procurements at this time. Thank you. No actions at this time. I apologize.
Ms. Mahaltas for Transit.
The New York City Transit Committee met on Monday and reports the following. There are 2 actions for a proposed estimated expenditure of $393.3 million. The committee discussed these items. However, a quorum was not presented to move them. I present these items for a full board vote.
Second, Ms. Soren. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? The items carry.
This concludes the transit report.
Okay. Audit Committee. Mr. Jones?
Chair, the Audit Committee met Monday. The Audit Committee met Monday and reports the following. While the committee did review and discuss the following items, a quorum of members was not present. Today, the committee seeks approval of the consolidated financial statements of the second quarter 2025 and the appointment of Deloitte as the MTA's independent auditor.
Who will move the item? Mr. Mack, second. Ms. Miller, all in favor? Opposition or abstention? The audit items are approved.
This concludes the Audit Committee report.
Ms. Mahaltas, can we impose on you again for Capital Program Committee?
Yes, the Capital Program Committee met Monday and reports the following. There are 6 procurement actions for construction and development for a proposed expenditure of $124.2 million. The committee recommends these items, and I move them.
Okay, second. Anybody? Thank you, Ms. Soren. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? The items are approved. I think that concludes the capital program report. Thank you.
That concludes the capital plan.
Thanks. Finance Committee, Board Member Chu, you were present.
I was, on behalf of Chair Zuckerman. The Finance Committee met Monday and reports the following. There is a single action item seeking authorization of the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority Congestion Relief Zone Toll Revenue Obligation Resolution for submission to the Capital Program Review Board. The committee recommends this item, and I move it.
I'll second that. Get the bonds that the congestion pricing revenue is intended to generate. I will second that. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? The item carries.
The procurement agenda includes 4 actions for a proposed estimated expenditure of $295.6 million. The committee recommends these items, and I move them.
Second, Ms. Soren again. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? The items carry.
For real estate items, there are 4 transactional items this month. The committee recommends these items, and I move them.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Miller. Any opposition or abstention? The items carry. Thank you, Mr. Chu. Before we close out the finance report, I want to ask Tim Mulligan, the Chief Rolling Stock, to present a rolling stock item that Tim's team has been working hard at finalizing. Tim?
This item is a request for the board to approve an award of a non-competitive purchase contract to Kawasaki Railcar Incorporated for the procurement of 378 additional B-Division subway cars and related non-car items, including spare parts, special tools, test equipment, documentation, and training, for a total amount of $1.507 billion. The car price negotiations concluded on Friday and over the weekend. The negotiations on some terms and conditions and some of the non-car items are still continuing, but we expect to wrap these up in the next couple of days. Under this contract, Kawasaki will furnish and deliver 378 subway cars starting in late 2028 through 2030. These cars are required to complete the replacement of the R68 and R68A fleet approaching their end of service life and to accommodate the conversion of additional B-Division lines to CBTC operation. The additional B-Division cards provide a unique opportunity for the MTA to reduce design and development costs, accelerating the delivery of new subway cars and minimizing risk and cost. By using a service-proven design, we achieve the critical need of the delivery of R68 and 68A replacement fleet almost 4 years earlier than would have been the case with a competitive procurement.
Okay. So that's a presentation of what we call a walk-on because it wasn't in the original board agenda. But this is an opportunity for us to leverage what has been a very successful procurement of the R211s to get to this 68 fleet, which is fast approaching the end of its useful life. And so are there questions or comments, Mr.?
I'll make a motion. And I have, I just want to say there's been echo your sentiments, Jano. There's been considerable conversations, so I think it's something that it merits putting on the record for what we can. About there's been a lot of conversations and inquiries from many stakeholders about what goes into the production of our rolling stock and in relation to the work conditions and at Kawasaki. And there's been, certain high-level concerns of the community. They're certainly valid, but I think there's also been a lot of misinformation and accusations that have been levied around. So I think it's worth noting on the record that there have been considerable conversations amongst the board members, amongst staff, amongst other stakeholders, to not only get comfortable with the fact that this is the best and most responsible way for the MTA to move forward, to balance all those needs, and that not only are we comfortable moving forward with this motion, but also we want to acknowledge that all of those concerns at the highest level that were communicated, which I think almost all of us are in agreement with, are certainly being considered to make sure that they are considered even more deeply for future procurements. And that's something that was very much a robust part of the conversation, amongst staff. But also worth noting that, if we went, because I don't think we could say that loudly enough, if we went out to go for an entirely new procurement, history has told us that, and I don't think current conditions are improving. The wait time to actually get rolling stock would be, I think to say considerably longer would be an understatement, right?
So, yeah, does anyone else want to comment on this? I mean, I just think, Andrew, let me just add one thing in response to Sam's, I think, very helpful statement, which is that we are undertaking now, because there's been some controversy about what information is being made public and so on, it even got into litigation. The MTA has become, in the words of Reinvent Albany, the gold standard of transparency, and we are going to make information public. We're going to do it in a way that respects, the rules of the road about proprietary business information, so it doesn't violate commitments that are made under our contracts with manufacturers and suppliers. But we want to have a robust public information about what jobs are being created and what types of trades, and making sure that these are meaningful jobs that advance what we're all interested in, which is a strong manufacturing sector.
And if I just could respond to one specific point, one thing that's been very much talked about, or at least highlighted, is the U.S. employment plan, which we're not going to go deep into details, and it is also a subject of litigation, which does limit our ability to go in too deep on the record. But the U.S. employment plan was a federal program. And I think one of the positives that's come out of this conversation is that, being that we are the MTA and being that we are New York, we know that we are not afraid of innovating and doing better and setting an example. We've done it a few times, probably most notably with congestion pricing over the last year. So going forward, I think an important item that came out of this conversation was that going forward, staff is going to put together, an initial framework, and then with the collaboration with the board, going to understand what is in the best interests of the public, not just for producing this rolling stock, but making sure, all of our social considerations and economic, priorities are considered. So I think that's something that everyone should look forward to, including some of the people that were paying most close attention to our rolling stock procurements.
I think something that reflects. Mr. Albert?
Yeah, on a very different level and nowhere near as important, I'm sure, to everybody as what Sammy has just raised. The loss of the R68 and 68 fleet means no more conversational seating. If you've ridden the trains lately, people are yelling across the aisles at each other, and having the conversational seating makes it a little more civilized for riders. You can look out a window. You don't have to stare at the person across from you. If you have a group that wants to talk, it's much easier with conversational seating. So I will be very sorry to see that fleet go.
All right, but wait till we have full cellular connection in the subways, and then we'll have yet another discussion, listening to people's domestic arguments as we ride our way to work. Okay, but again, I acknowledge your comment. We increasingly, the design of our cars is designed to maximize both capacity and circulation, and that may mean some compromises, and you're correct. Okay, there's a motion and there's a second. I need a second on this. Mr. Mack will second it. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention on this?
I abstain.
Okay. There's an abstention from Ms. Mahaltzis. Okay, I think
This concludes the Finance Committee.
This concludes the Finance Committee report. Okay. And with that, we conclude today's board business. Hearing no other new business to be discussed, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Ms. Meller, for a second. We are in adjournment. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Great. I thought this was a great meeting. We updated the capital program, and we were able to say we have harvested savings from the rollout of Omni and the rollout of congestion pricing. Those projects came in well under budget. We were able to harvest $600 million of savings, among other things, to do more ADA stations and more projects in general. We heard an amazing presentation from the MTA PD about how they're doing more train patrols. They've knocked fare evasion down by 40% in the stations where they do the subway fare evasion enforcement, and they're using less overtime to accomplish all that. And we also had that presentation on climate resiliency. I think that makes us all proud, because the MTA, among all transit organizations, nobody is spending more, giving more attention to climate change and how to fight it in the transit world than the MTA, and you heard that from Eric. So I'm ready to take questions, but I just wanted to say at the outset I was thrilled with what we accomplished at that meeting.
Great. As is our practice, when we have somebody here for the first time, we're going to go right to Rana Novini from WNBC in the mezzanine up there. Rana.
Thank you. Not the first time, but it's been a few years. Thank you for taking our questions. I'm wondering if you can talk about the anti-subway surfing barriers that have been installed on the 7 train. Can you tell us where you are in the pilot program, what you've been seeing in terms of results, and what's next for the program?
Sure. And I'm going to defer to my colleague, Mr. Critchlow, the president of New York City Transit, who's been working on this for a little while now. Thanks.
So we've said this before, surfing is suicide. It's something that it is a larger issue, requires help from sources across the spectrum, which is DOE, the city, parents, students, family members. Everyone plays a part in this. We already have a great relationship with NYPD, and that they're doing a drone program to stop folks. We have a Ride Inside, Stay Alive program, which we literally just released a new article on that. So the MTA is doing our part. This is one of the things that we started piloting over a year ago, these anti-surfing bolsters. And ultimately, we've had a couple of different renditions of it. We put it in one car, 2 cars, and now we just rolled it out fully to 1 train set. The goal is to have the entire 7-line fleet completed by the end of next year, and the cost of it is, at this point, labor and materials is going to be somewhere around the $10 million mark. We've done a lot of trial on it, a lot of adjustments to the actual equipment, and feel like we have a good set in place for the future.
All right. You may want to stick around just a moment. We're going to go to Elijah Westbrook of CBS New York, Channel 2, right there. Elijah.
All righty. Good afternoon. I was going to say good morning. Good afternoon. So you guys gave a really interesting presentation about climate resiliency, or climate change, I should say, and the efforts that you guys are taking right now to improve the system. Today, obviously, marks 13 years since Superstorm Sandy. When was the last time you guys spoke to the DEP commissioner about some of the concerns, and what are they saying in response to those concerns?
Listen, as the presentation covered, we are in communication constantly with the DEP team about what they're doing to deal with the impacts of climate change. So that's part of a regular cycle of discussions and meetings that we have. And I spoke to the DEP commissioner a few weeks ago. Jamie, you talk to him all the time. You talked to him today, I think? No? But here's the bottom line. Nobody's doing, I'm going to say it again, Elijah, there's no transit organization that's doing more to fight the impacts of climate change than the MTA. And we are making huge investments we already pumped 13 million gallons of water a day. We're increasing our own pumping capacity. We are moving all kinds of mechanical systems out of harm's way where water can't get to them. We spent billions on coastal resiliency. We're also saying that everybody has to contribute to this, and part of that is the city dealing with the capacity of its stormwater management system And we look forward to working with the DP in this administration, but also in the next administration on that. I'm sorry. You want to come on up, Jimmy?
I'll just add that the point of the presentation is there's a big set of problems we're confronting in the long term, and we have different ways of confronting them. There's the actions that we're taking. We've got $1.5 billion for resiliency in this next capital plan. There's actions that we're taking with the city. We have a task force with the city agencies. We work in lockstep to deal with issues. As the chair said, I've been in regular conversation. I spoke to the COO of DEP yesterday. We talk all the time. We're coordinated. And there are long-term actions that we need the city to take, the city agencies as well. And there are priorities for city agencies as well. It's a question of funding and implementation.
All right, let's move on to Alfonso Castillo of Newsday TV. He's here with Ed Quinn today, so this must be particularly significant. Alfonso, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Janet, we're yet to hear from you about the investigation from the Inspector General last week on 36 Long Island Railroad workers charged in this counterfeit ID fraud. First, just want to get your thoughts on the charges, and then I've got a follow-up.
Listen, bottom line, I'm outraged. And I'm especially outraged the idea that there were supervisors who are charged with responsibility for making sure that everybody's getting work done and playing by the rules. There were supervisors who were conspirators and organizers of this. Outrageous. And I don't. There's still litigation or process of applying discipline. I'm not involved with that, and I don't know the specifics. But let me tell you this: if you're a supervisor and you're actually corruptly involved in this kind of ripoff of the public, I don't think there's a place for you at the Long Island Railroad. The discipline process has to work itself out, but from my standpoint, you have forfeited the chance to work the Long Island Railroad if you're involved in something like this.
Beyond that, Jano, board member O'Donnell earlier this week expressed disappointment that they're not being criminally charged and criticized the Suffolk DA for making that call. Suffolk DA had said the evidence just isn't good enough here. There weren't cameras. There wasn't good record keeping. Your thoughts on their decision, and do you think these folks should be criminally charged?
I don't know enough about the evidentiary issues that seem to have animated that back and forth to have a comment on it. Rob, do you want to say anything?
No. In some ways, you're at a loss for words with this, Alfonso, right? The chairman said outraged, and I think that's putting it mildly. I think there's a lot more emotions associated with this. We condemn this in its strongest terms, this abhorrent behavior, and we will not stand for it. And that's why we took swift, decisive, strong action. We took employees out of service right away without pay. We disciplined them up to 9 months. There were demotions associated with this. There's also financial impacts. For people that decided they didn't want to face the consequences of this internally, there's fiscal impacts in terms of their pension. There's impacts to that. There's sick time, their medical benefits, there's impacts to that as well. And there's still employees, and we have to respect the process, that are going through the process, that are facing discipline up to termination. And we'll explore every avenue we can to punish them in the most significant way.
Do you think, Rob, that punishment should include some kind of criminal charges, given that I know they've said it's been, and you said it's been difficult to quantify how much money was stolen here, but you've got them buying a machine and running off copies of IDs. I mean, isn't that a crime?
Well, I'm no legal expert, Alfonso. All I know is I can deal with the things that I can deal with, and we're addressing this in its strongest terms, and because we will not tolerate it. It's not acceptable, and if anyone else decides to do so in the future, there'll be strong actions taken against them as well.
All right, let's move on to Stefanos Chen of the New York Times.
Hi, Jano. Just a question on the bus policy program that was proposed by Mr. Mamdani. You had been speaking recently about some of the reservations with that proposal. I wanted to see if you could just speak more about what the impact could be on the MTA's bonds in terms of specifically about the bus fare revenue and how that could be affected if that money is no longer being generated.
Listen, I've been pretty consistent on this. What I'm saying is we are thrilled that people that we're thrilled that transit is featuring so prominently in the debates around the mayoral campaign. That is good news. We're also thrilled that people are talking about more transit and faster transit, which whoever is the mayor has a lot of power to implicate, and also the affordability of transit as well as affordability in general. So that's good news. I have been celebrating the way this campaign has unfolded in terms of discussion about transit. What I've said is, obviously, you got to study all the big ideas that are being articulated as part of the campaign. You know, a former governor once said, we campaign in poetry and we govern in prose. Like, I'm the prose. I got to worry about the study of all these different ideas and how they play out fiscally. And one of the issues, Steph, that you're raising is among those issues, which is what would be the impact to bondholders and potentially MTA's position in the bond market. Obviously, bondholders will want to know that that the revenue basis has not been compromised, and we'd have to go through a lot of analysis to make sure that we could portray it accurately with bond buyers and the people in that market.
All right. While we're on the topic of finance, let's go to Michelle Kasky from Bloomberg News. Michelle.
Hey, Jano. Regarding Penn Access, Amtrak is saying that that some of these delays have to do with the fact that the eastbound reroute was delayed, and that was an issue in terms of being able to provide outages for Penn Access work.
Well, listen, I'm sure that we're going to hear a lot of explanations meant to sort of throw up dust on this issue, but it's real simple, which is there's a contractual commitment to give us, 50 odd outages in the first 2 years. We got 7. Even when we got outages, we were not given the force account. This was a huge issue in East Side Access, so I am very acutely attentive to it, which is, when the electric traction power foreman doesn't show up, you can't turn off the power. When the track foreman doesn't show up, you can't do work on the track. We send people home. And then when we finally get the outage and the personnel, there's Amtrak's own internal disputes, and bureaucracy means that it's not the same work rules that they agreed to in the contract. So Amtrak is going to, I'm sure, is going to say lots of different stuff. The facts are really not in dispute. We didn't get outages. We didn't get force account. We didn't get the work rules that were promised. And therefore, now, why is this important, Michelle? Because people in the Bronx are dying for a train to get to jobs in Westchester and Connecticut and to Midtown. And those are the people. We can fight it out with Amtrak in arbitration. That is going to happen. We shouldn't be focused on that. What we should be focused on is Amtrak going to agree to let us start service in 2027? That's what this fight is really about right now.
All right, let's go to the Zoom equipment. We got Jose Martinez standing by. I understand editor Jose Martinez after the promotion from the city. Congratulations, Jose.
It's player-coach role for now, if you will. But I am still doing some reporting. So, Jano, just wanted to ask about one of the last items that came up today in terms of the rolling stock procurement from Kawasaki. Is this the first wave of new subway car purchases under the new capital plan? And also, if you could just speak to the importance of replacing those cars that have been in service since 1986.
I think you just framed it, right? They've been in service since 1986. We have a roughly 40-year useful life. And after 40 years, they start to break down a lot more frequently. You see the MDBF plummet. And by buying them now, at least we're putting ourselves in a position where we can get them into service a couple years beyond the 40-year useful life. We needed to take that action to protect the riders who otherwise are going to experience these, additional breakdowns. So that's what this is about. Yes, it is the first procurement under the new 25 to 29 capital program. And the reason that it made a lot of sense to do it is that we've had huge success with the R211s. Public loves them. They're rolling out. And this way we can keep it's using most of the model. And we also have, we're accelerating the opportunity to do CBTC with those cars. If we had to wait, it might create complexity for the whole CBTC deployment of modern signals. So that's one of the prompts for doing this as quickly as we did. Anything else, Jay or Tim? Okay.
All right, next up is Dave Colon from Your Streets blog. Right there in the front row, Dave.
That's a new one. Jano, I wanted to see if you talk about, while everybody's talking about buses, to maybe go back in time a little bit. Many years ago, Andrew Cuomo's MTA killed the expansion of the Select Bus service. So I'm wondering if you are interested, as the new mayor shows up, working with New York City DOT to revive the expansion of that specific bus service.
Yeah. I honestly, premature for me to say what the specific mechanisms would be, but the goal of faster buses, which everybody who's running and everybody who works in our New York transit world endorses, that's my goal. So we're going to be looking at physical infrastructure improvements, some of which have rolled out slowly in the last couple of years, like buses, busways and bus lanes. We're going to be looking at traffic signal prioritization. We're going to be looking at expansion of the ACE program. We're going to be looking at the redesigns that we are implementing borough by borough, and we will look at service patterns and the type of buses like the SBS program that you that you made reference to. So there's no one thing that we've focused on, but it's all going to be about faster buses, absolutely, that everybody agrees on, and moving in that direction.
Not as obviously as the only thing, but this was something that I think people saw a lot of promise in when it was rolling out, and there were supposed to be big expansions across the entire city. Is there still a place for this?
I honestly don't know, Dave, but we're going to evaluate it alongside all the other tools that might give our riders a faster bus experience. So it's one of the things that we're going to take a look at.
All right, next up is Haley Brown of the New York Post.
Okay. So on the free buses proposal, have you voiced your concerns directly with the assemblyman? And you said the proposal should be studied first. What could be an issue that could come up if they don't study?
So again, I think I've said the same thing a few times now, which is any proposal of scale and complexity needs to be studied. We will study it. I know that the folks who are running for mayor understand that, and I think I'm just stating the obvious, which is that we have to study all of the implications, which is not just fare box revenue, but the capital impacts and the operating impacts and so on. So I'm comfortable that we've been pretty consistent on the need for a thorough study.
And the part about, did you voice your concerns directly with the assemblyman yet?
No, I'm not. We're not involved in the election campaign, and we don't take a position as long as campaigns are going on specifics, and I don't interact with campaigns. But honestly, he's been a pro-transit assemblyman for some time, and our team has certainly worked with him in the past, and he's been a big supporter of transit. So we expect to keep working with whoever is in office after the election.
All right, next door is Steve Nesson from WNYC, Gothamist, and the famed On the Way newsletter. Steve.
Hey, Jano. I feel like you have answered questions about the buses already, so I guess the only last thing I wanted to follow up on is, I think you said on New York One, bus revenue will push $1 billion in the coming years. I'm just curious, does that include at least some amount of fare evasion? And yeah.
It does. I mean, if you look at our financial plan, the projections for bus revenue do, I think, get into the 900 millions in a couple of years. But it does assume a reduction in fare evasion that we've been achieving in the buses. The subways are obviously much more significant reduction. We're continuing to work on bus fare evasion reduction. And I was just referring to the numbers that are already in the financial plan. I think you are already familiar with.
And as far as studying this proposal, like you mentioned, how would it be different than the study you guys already did when there was a free bus pilot?
It would be different. It would have to look at the implications of not one bus in each borough, but it would have to look at the implications on the entire system, and what might be the financial implications. Again, both capital, if you need more buses, if you need more bus drivers, whatever, as well as operating. So it would be a much more comprehensive study of all the potential implications.
All right, Steve name-checked New York 1, so we go right to Samantha Liebman of New York 1 to close out the proceedings today. Sam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jano. I'm just wondering, after the last major storm where there was major subway flooding, the DEP in a Zoom said that they work with you to prioritize stations that flood the most, but the stations that flooded in Ida flooded in the last storm, 28th Street, 23rd Street, Eli Avenue, all of those have not been worked on apparently. So what's going on there?
Okay, so Jamie will clarify, but yeah, you're right. What Jamie's presentation showed today is that torrential rainfall happens not at the same location every time. So every time there is one of these episodes of torrential rainfall, the MTA and the DP and DOT get together and go look at all the stations that were hit because there are differential impacts and study this and see what can we do right away, hopefully, to make changes. And a lot of good has come of those collaborations. There's a task force, Jamie described it. What keeps happening in a couple places, and that was what the second half of Eric's presentation described, is there are some neighborhoods where the combination of sewer, insufficient sewer capacity, and these low the reduction in the curbs means that water is getting both into the vents, up on the sidewalk and into the vents, and also the sewer system is backing up and it backs up into. That's what the portion of Eric's presentation was talking about, which is we're having a lot of areas where we're collaborating with DEP and fixing things, but there are many also these neighborhoods where the sewer, the insufficient capacity of the sewer system, the stormwater management system, as they say, is leading to a chronic backup every time there's torrential rainfall into the station with impacts to subway service and so on. Because when the water comes over the third rail, can't run service. So that's the difference. There are some areas of success and progress, and there is an area, there's a set of neighborhoods and stations where there's the same issue every time. It has to do with the city's infrastructure. And we're just saying, as we head into a new mayoral administration, it's really time to deal with this. We spent 20 years building the third water tunnel. That was, that took some determination and commitment by multiple administrations. We got to start with the stormwater management system, or this is going to keep happening. Jamie.
Yeah, I can just fill in some examples of what the chair was describing if it's helpful. So 200 subway stations impacted by heavy rainfall flooding since 2007. That's a lot. It's a lot of different problems. Dyckman Street, 190th Street Station, we worked together with city agencies. We dealt with some of those immediate problems. They had suffered from heavy rainfall flooding in the past few years. This last set of rain events, they didn't. We were able to solve the problem. 28th Street, some of the 7th and 8th Avenue line stations that you're describing, it's a mix. There's an example where, as Jano said, there was a manhole cover that we were able to go out and bolt down with the city agencies, and now we're not seeing that sort of backflow. But we have a bigger problem in those neighborhoods, which is there's too much water coming for the sewer system. The curbs have sort of gradually, the streets gradually been paved up, so there's not enough room to contain the water in the roadbed. So it's getting up over the sidewalk, up over our steps, into our vents. So that needs more intervention from the city. So it's a combination of working together on the smaller interventions and finding better ways to manage stormwater that impact both the subway system and communities across New York City. So it's to everyone's benefit to intervene.
Okay, well, until we're going to close it out, I just want to emphasize one thing, which is we're having, obviously, a lot of discussion about Amtrak and what they can do and what they can't do and what they won't do, and the water gets muddied. The bottom line is we got to provide service, Penn Access, to the people in the Bronx. It's important that we make good on it. We can fight with Amtrak in arbitration. That's the key. We need to join forces with Amtrak. We need their support to get people on the railroad 2027 as promised. Now, we've already seen how enthusiastic people are about the Metro North service to Albany. These people in the Bronx are desperately in need. They don't even have what the folks going to Albany have, which is some Amtrak trains, albeit not enough. These people have nothing to get to jobs and education and opportunity when you're coming from Co-op City or Morris Park in particular. We need to start those service 2027, and we need Amtrak to help us.
All
That's
right.
it.
Thank you, Jano, Rob, Demetrius, and Jamie. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. Good afternoon from Lower Manhattan today.